Good morning, traders out there. Welcome back. It's another bright day here at Trade the Pool, and it looks like the tech earnings came in as the Nasdaq rockets higher. Now, what's the game plan going forward? That's the questions we need to be asking ourselves, and we need to take a look. What came in right now? Jobs report. We'll talk all about it. We'll get to the numbers. We'll talk into the playbook, and we'll get into all the earnings action. Let's deep dive into Meta's report. We'll deep dive into Microsoft. We'll take a look at Eli Lilly, CVS, and others that reported today. If you have a stock you want to call out, go ahead and throw it up in the chat. We'll keep it going here. It's, of course, Trade the Pool. Let's get things started, guys. I'm by myself today, but I do have a great guest on today at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. I'll tell you one thing. You ain't going to miss this one, guys, because this is a pro trader coming on for us, guys. Someone that I know has, more than 10 years of experiences in trading positively, of course, making money. And what I love is he's an actual trader that went from prop trading to making so much money that he didn't even need the prop firm anymore. Moments like this are very important. Don't miss it, guys. That's coming up at 10:30 today. We got, of course, Dennis Dick that will be joining us today, one of my mentors. So you don't want to miss that, guys. And one of the things that I love about him is that he's one of the best that I know in the pre and post market trading. So we're going to talk a lot about those kind of questions. So if you guys have questions about how to trade pre-market, how to trade after hours, what type of edge is out there during that time, well, wait and find out, guys. All you got to do is stick right here. Of course, like always, guys, hit that like button and share button so others can see this interview. And let's get right to the show. Let's start that countdown. We'll get to the playbook, the sunrise report, and all the trading action right here on Trade the Pool. Wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What up out there, traders? How we doing out there? Well, let's get right to the market action. Let's take a look at the playbook today in a second here. Well, I just want to take a peek at the SPY. Bring in some economic data that came in here. So if you're wondering what was this little move to the downside, well, that was exactly the jobless numbers coming in here. Initial jobless claims at 241,000 versus 224,000. So showing that the jobless claims are taking a jump. That is a negative for the market, but right now the market's in risk on mode and it doesn't really care about this news. Why? Because it's not a massive jump. What we need to focus on is the unemployment number in the future to see if that gets a big spike. If that does continue to get a big spike, it's more talk of recession. Yesterday, that's what drove the market down. But quickly, what happened? The buy the dip mentality. We were here watching the buy the dip mentality, and we talked about how the opening action could be more flushing out of the bulls, trying to get the bulls out. And that's exactly what the market did yesterday. It tried to get some of the bulls out and then quickly reverse back to the upside. So now we continue to watch to see if the rally can just continue to hold. What are the things that you can look at? Well, the trend line, I can extend it further away, right? Just keep extending it away, 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 away. And if we ever come back to that line, as long as we can stay not below that line, closing below that line, we are still in green mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this line because this was our line to go green on the upside. Well, we've already gone back through that 550, so we can start to delete these lines. And now we'll have a 550 support. Yeah. But the truth is that's not the buy line anymore. Now we're already in buy mode and we're more in long mode now, continuing above the 550s. As long as we can continue to stay above that 550s, you're going to see a lot of traders being more of that bullish mode. And another thing that's happened here, of course, the MACD crossover and expansion away. We got the crossover here on the 520, and now we're getting the expansion away. So if anything, more and more buy the dip opportunities, but today will be a tough one because we're already extended away, right? That's one thing that I want to talk about, and we'll see if we get another quick little dip the first 30 minutes, and we'll look to see if we can continue the rally. Let's get to today's playbook action. The Sunrise report has so much to talk about. Playbook is a little bit off here. I'm going to be honest. I'm looking around the plays. I need to continue to watch towards the open here to see where the green is in the market. But let's take a look. And if you guys have a stock you guys want to talk about, maybe it's a small cap name that I'm missing today, let me know, guys. We'll take a look at that action. We'll go to small caps. We'll go into some earnings reports. We can take a look at some earnings numbers. I'm going to bring in Earnings Hub to take a look at some different action here. Let's get right to the show, guys. You know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool. Hit the like. All right, first up on the playbook today, we got a lot to talk about, right? We can take a look at different plays. There's going to be a bunch of different ones that we can look at. But today, of course, Hood came out with their earnings. We could talk a little bit about Hood, but that's doing really well here. Overall, that's the play for me on the upside. And I think that you can continue to watch both names with this, Hood and Coin. They both could be getting a lift today. Of course, Coin is lagging behind Hood because Hood has the positive news this morning. But let's take a look there. Hood now making its way to 5150s, and we'll look for this to continue to grind higher. I do need a pullback out the gates to maybe jump in this. If it can come back to 50, it looks great for me. Somewhere in this area, this resistance area would be an awesome kind of dip buy. We'll see what happens there in Hood if it can continue to make the run. All right, and then, of course, since we're in kind of a risk-on mode, we could take a look to see if the safety trade starts to fall off. Of course, we've seen XLP and consumer staples kind of hang in here during this whole time. It did even make a down move with that action, but it has come back with the vengeance. Now, the MACD is still crossed. That's one thing that tells me to be careful here. But I'm wondering, what is going to be on the sell, right? Where are they going to rotate away from, and where are they going to rotate to? So in my eyes, I can clearly see them trying to start to rotate away from these XLP names as the value trade comes off and the growth trade comes into play. So we'll see what happens there with XLP and if it can continue to hold here with the motion that it's in. Right now, I think it's one to kind of keep an eye out. I'll be watching names like Procter & Gamble. You see how this is coming down. This tells me more and more of that sign, right? The safety trade almost letting go here. And we got to continue to see how these trades start to let go. Look at Colgate-Palmolive showing more of that weakness there. So maybe it's more in your household personal products industry that we need to be looking at, right? That's another thing to look at, right? We'll see what happens here. Confectioners are actually making a little bit of a move up. So that could be also weighing in on this. So you're kind of getting a little bit of a mix in the sector. We might need to go to specific stocks that could see the deterioration away from the safety trade. All right. And of course, that could also be affecting the XLU and why we saw the utilities kind of give up a little bit yesterday, but then recover. So we'll see what happens there with utility names and continue to watch those consumer staples. Let's get out of the consumer staple talk. Let's go now towards long ARKK as we look for more growth traits. And we can look here at the tape and look to see what is strong on the RSI. I would stay with the strong names. Right now, the strong names are what's working. Take a look at Roblox, now up there to 72.12. So my man Tim, shout out to you in the chat, man. I hope you're doing great out there, and I hope your trade on RBLX is killing it. I know you've been trading this one often. I hope you're able to still make that cash. It's good to see some names in the chat. What's up out there, Paul? Yaz, what's going on, man? How we doing? Good morning. Watched you for the first time yesterday. You're the trader that best kept the secret. Can't blame there for being so few people here. Yeah, I mean, Paul, we're continuing to grow. I think that's one thing that happens here. I think another thing that happens is just the overall algorithm, kind of, the beginning where we started and where we're growing to. But if you look at what we have been doing, and our subscribers are growing massively, we're increasing every single day, and we're pushing to the next level. So Paul, stick around, man. I'm sure you'll see some more traders in here. And the truth is that a lot of traders like to just trade on their own. I try to open this room to give you guys that environment to learn from my trading. Of course, you guys will see me be fully transparent. I show all my positions right here, right on the screen, so that you guys can see them. I even pull in the actual trading screen so that you guys can actually see me close and open trades. That's what it's all about. It's about you guys learning. It's not about acting like a guru or furu. At the end of the day here, guys, we're not trying to act like that. We're not trying to give you guys advice on what to buy and sell. What I'm trying to show you guys is the experience of a trader going at it every single day. All right, we'll keep going. We'll take a look at some other action here. And of course, we can take a look at some more of the ARKK names. You got Roku. And Roku was one of the names that I was trying to long just another day ago, right? On Tuesday. Yesterday, it did give a nice little bounce back. So it's on the radar for the up action. You got names like Coinbase. Of course, I just talked about Coin. Look how it's lifting, right? We'll continue to watch this one to see if we can get a pullback to buy Coin, but it's looking pretty well. Palantir, even on this. I know that some people don't want to stay away from Palantir. That is myself included. But hey, it's just continuing to rip. Now 120, right back up to where it was, guys. So if you didn't get that buy the dip on Palantir, well, I was a part of that. We'll continue to see what happens here with Palantir. And I got a great question here getting asked about daily 50 EMA. Do I ever use the daily 50 EMA? I really, I like the 50. It's right on my screen right here. You'll see it right there. So the yellow line is that exponential moving average 50. Let's make it a little thicker so that you guys can see it a little bit. Here we go. So there it is. You guys can see that on the line a little bit more on Palantir. You guys can see how it's down there. That's that yellow line. So there's 3 moving averages that I use, right? I use the 9, right? The 9 moving average. This is your momentum line, short-term line, middle term, and long-term line. That's what you want to have. A lot of traders believe in this, right? Because this is going to give us the ability to know the middle, like kind of the middle trend, the long-term trend, and the short-term trend. And a lot of times we're trading with the short-term trend, looking that the long-term trend stays in our favor. We'll continue to see that the 50 moving average continues to rise. That's one of the good things that you could look for here. And of course, you can see how the 200 is nowhere near. Palantir never got to the 200. And that shows what? Bullish action. Overall trend continuing to the upside. All right, let's continue out of that. We could take a look at Palantir and some other names that are strong there. Shopify, definitely on the radar, but I think this one's getting affected a lot by the tariffs. And that's why Amazon hasn't been that good of a sexy name. SoFi is one of the names that I'm looking for it to come back today. It did do a little bit of a pullback 2-3 days in a row. It has a tendency of doing this. When people get too excited about SoFi, it has a tendency of pulling back. But what is this? This is kind of the buy the rumor, sell the news event. So let's see when the buy comes back into play. I think it will come back into play at SoFi. It's just a matter of time. The question is today the day? Well, we'll have to wait to the trading action to find out. All right, Hood, of course, shows up. That's on my radar. Path is another one as we look for more of these software health names, things like that to kind of get the lift. Keep your eyes on that. RXRX, another name that could get a lift. Of course, there was a lot of talk about RXRX before this kind of downturn that happened in the market. And if you think about it, the RXRX chart really doesn't look too bad. This is a cheaper name that I think we got to just continue to watch to see when we break this. I'm going to set the alert, and it will be over the next month to see when we break 6. I'll let you guys know. Archer, another one that is a momentum growth name type of name. Let's see if this one gets the lift today. It has been kind of sideways here. Let's see if it can push back there towards 875 and 9. This is not a bad one to keep on the radar also. So I'm going to put it on alert here for the 865 break to the upside. We'll see what happens there in Archer. All right, can you see the order block that is aligning with the 50 EMA? I take the buy from that. Yeah, the zones, right? The zones are very important if you're using kind of volume profile with the moving averages. This is one of the best ways to find where traders are aligning with price levels. So I think that's what you're alluding to here on the chart there. So, hey, I wish you the best of luck there with Palantir. Paul, it's good to see you in the chat and others in the chat. Say hello. It's good to see you guys out there. And if this is your first time here, like always, make a mention, and I'm always here to kind of root you guys on. If you guys haven't checked out our kind of packages that we have 2 major packages. Of course, we're a prop firm for stock trading. So if you want to check it out, guys, like always, there's a link down in the description. And like always, we have multiple packages for different types of traders, right? Whether you're a flexible trader, you need the unlimited time and you want to be consistent and just go at a slow approach. That can be one way to go about it. And then also we have the Max program for traders that want to make it happen and make it happen fast. So definitely check it out, guys. That one gives you a little bit more risk and you can push a little bit faster. We'll see what happens out there, guys. Let's talk about the earnings. We got to get towards that action. So let's get out of the playbook. Let's get to the sunrise report and check check out what's going on in the market. Why stocks are moving, of course, is the important thing. Let's get right to it in the Sunrise Report today. All right, traders, for the Sunrise Report, let's get to the action. First thing we need to do is take a look at some of these stocks, right? But let's talk about the overall market to start it off here. Market alert, of course, as the futures were jumping this morning after the big tech earnings. They were getting a nice little lift here, whether it be the S&P 500 up about 1.2% this morning, Nasdaq futures about 1.8, Dow futures about 0.8, 326 points off of Meta and Microsoft's 8% in the pre-market, leading the charge, of course. And the big tech earnings, the tale of the two titans last night, of course, Microsoft crushing the expectations with cloud and AI mentions, right? So let's talk a little bit more about Microsoft here. We're going to go a little slower through these first reports, as I think they're the most important reports, right? Let's talk a little bit more about this Microsoft, and then we can talk a little bit more. I'll bring in the earnings hub. I think it's important to kind of show this because I think they do a really great way of representing the earnings here. So we can go ahead and kind of make it happen here to show you guys that. So of course, I don't even have the paid version. So if you guys want to check this out, you guys can definitely check it out. This is Earnings Hubs. I have no affiliation, neither does Trade the Pool. This is just something that has come out as of recent that I think is a really good tool to go ahead and take a look at things, right? So here we can take a look at kind of the chart, right? And I'm trying to take a look here on the right-hand side here. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here, trying to get it so where you guys can see it a little bit better here. Let me see here. See what I can do. All right, here we go, guys. Here's the outlook here, and if you click on the kind of the outlook, you can get a little bit closer so that you guys can get to these charts, right? So we're looking at the revenue change, right? And the revenues beat the estimate 15 times in the last 17 quarters. This is really good information to have. As traders, you always want to take a look at this because if they beat 15 out of 17 times, what does that tell us? That tells us that on average, it's going to beat, guys. And that's what you're trying to do as traders. You're trying to find patterns that you can go ahead and take bets on. And this has been a good beat, right? We got here for the quarter, and we can talk about the earnings itself here. The earnings, of course, were above the estimate here of 68.42, came in at 0.07, and that's up 2.41%. The EPS at 3.22 expected came in at 3.46. So really good move there on Microsoft. And then it's all about the recap, right? What's going on here? Well, it's a lot of strong demand for the cloud and the AI, as they highlighted robust demand for its cloud and AI offering. Azure experiencing significant growth, particularly in the AI services, which contributed to 16 points. So this tells us more and more where the strength is coming from, right? And you can see it on the EPS, how you can continuously beat. There's only one miss in the last kind of 17 quarters. That tells us that we can almost expect a beat, right? So the upside was almost an expectation here. And that is what you want to be kind of catching. Another thing is the analyst ratings, right? 86% still on the buy side of things for Microsoft. We continue to watch to see what happens here, but all good numbers here coming from Microsoft. Let's keep things going. Let's go to the next one here. We can go towards, of course, Meta's report. Let's get to Meta's report and talk a little bit more about those numbers. All right, guys, and when you take a look at Meta, it's another report that continuously has a chance to beat, right? It's not as strong. It's 13 times out of 17 quarters, but really, when did it miss? It missed during the bear market time where things were really, really kind of coming down, and that was what? The ad revenue, right? But ever since then, what have we done since this turn in 23 is big beats. If you think about it here, the last kind of what, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quarters, big beats, right? And 7 out of 7. So in the last kind of companies moves, it's been a big beat and good move there. Let's take a look at the revenue. Look how the revenue was down here and they created revenue jump. That's how the stock was able to do that, because down here, everyone was worried about revenue and advertising that was getting lost. Well, it came back here with that push right back towards 2024 and 2025. Now, of course, peaking in Q4 of 2024 is something that we need to keep watch. Can they continue the trend higher, or will they start to decline a little bit? Something to look at. But you guys can see here, of course, the EPS, a big beat there, guys. $6.43 versus a $5.28 estimate. Revenues at $41.38 billion versus a $42.31 billion estimate. So big beats here, guys. Big move. Strong user growth. Meta reported over 3.4 billion used at least one of its apps daily. So the active daily users really kind of getting that lift there. Revenue growth, of course, as a company achieved a total of 42.3 billion, up 16% year over year in revenue growth. And what was this brought by? It was brought by ad revenue increasing 16%. This was the biggest concern with this stock, and it's actually being the driver of the stock, right? So that's what you want to see there. Big push. And of course, AI investments, heavy investing in there. Another thing, of course, the developers talk and things that we've been talking about, how they're cutting labor and using AI to work on the code development, which is actually helping their costs. And we'll continue to see how that drives the bottom line. All right, let's keep it going, guys. Of course, we don't have to go through all the reports this way. I just wanted to show you guys one way that you guys can be looking into these reports by using Earnings Hub. Of course, like I said, I don't have no sponsorship from them. I probably should at this point, but hey, it is what it is, guys. I like using it. And I like the graphical representation there. So another thing with 92% on the buy side, there's not much negative action in the streets on Meta. All right, we could take a look at some other earnings, right? We got more stocks that came in last night. Hood, of course, we talked about that and how that continues to beat. That one's a 10 out of the last 16 quarters. So it just shows you more and more. On average, stocks tend to beat. And if they don't, that's where you got to be really concerned. That's where you can see some further downside. Sprouts is another kind of good one to take a look at, guys. This is one that I actually believe in, guys. I'm a little upset I didn't invest into this company a little early, as this has really been a really good grocer. Of course, this is your higher end kind of natural grocery store, but look at the revenues and look at the earnings. The earnings tell the story. And if you look at the EPS beats, this has been really good. EPS has beat 17 times out of the last 17 quarters. Good things to look at. This is why I think it's very important to look at graphical representation like this, or to look at a calendar like you have on Benzinga Pro that just has the numbers, right? What you need to look into these, especially if you're looking to invest or swing trade into these reports. All right, we'll see what else is out there, guys. Eli Lilly is another one to talk about. This one's not as clean, right? 12 out of the 17 times doesn't tell me that it's always going to beat. It tells me that it does run into some trouble at certain points. But look at the change. Sometimes you're going to get some crazy whipsaws on this stock. It came in here at an EPS estimate. Let's talk about it. EPS was at 302 estimate, came in at 334. Revenues at 12.66 billion, expected 12.73. So good beats there on that side. Revenue increasing big. What is that? That's, of course, the weight loss drug. So that's what you got to continue to watch. That's what you want to be thinking about. And you got to continue to see what happens there. Eli Lilly, not looking too bad. Things looking great here as revenues increase 36.38%. And there's an analyst call at 10 a.m. We'll see what happens there. And of course, the analysts on this one have also continued to stay on the buy side. We'll see what happens as the current average is about 995 and it's trading at 900 or just a little bit under. We'll see if it can break 900 today and Eli Lilly can continue going higher. We got Mickey D's. Mickey D's, how did those earnings come in? It's beat revenue 11 times out of the 17 times. Let's see the EPS 14 times. So it's been doing really well on the EPS side of things. Revenue's kind of going all over the place as we start to see a little bit of a pullback on this. This doesn't make me feel as confident, though. The revenue coming down and missing the revenue estimate tells me more and more we could start seeing slowdowns of the consumer. All right, guys, we can talk more about different stocks, CVS and things like that. Let's keep it going. Let's take a look at the chart actions too. We can keep going. Let's go to some of the other ones that I wanted to talk about. Let's go to the auto sector really quickly, as this is news, as tariff, of course, trouble causing major disruption. GM cut the 2020-25 forecast, citing a $4 billion tariff impact, but shares up 3%. That's interesting, guys, to see that. GM going up higher, but definitely cutting the guidance there. Stellantis and Mercedes withdrawing full year guidance tells me more and more the downside could continue in Stellantis, but it's still up today. That's where it gets interesting, guys. The news is not matching the price action. And when that's happening, that shows a divergence that we need to keep watching to see if it comes back into play here. So that's what I'll be keeping an eye on here with Stellantis and the auto manufacturers. And for that case, Tesla looks like it's dropping a little bit here. I think they might have to pull their guidance coming soon if this continues too, but we'll see what happens. Tesla has been strong. Can it get another strong move back through the 290, or will we come cutting through the 270s? All things to look at. All right, guys, of course, geopolitics are meeting the markets as U.S. and Ukraine materials deal is finally signed. So we'll see how this actually affects the materials side of things today. I'll be watching to see what happens there. But of course, the U.S. gets preferential access to Ukraine's natural resources with this. Ukraine gets Reconstruction Investment Fund, and Trump calls it the payback for war support. So 50-50 partnership structure is set up here and could reshape the global commodities market. What is this a move? This is a move to try to get away from some of China's materials. Of course, China holds a lot of those materials, and one of the great ways that Trump is finding ways around China. This is a big move, and I think this is a positive for the markets overall. We'll continue to see what happens there, and how does some materials act today off of this news. So keep your eyes on that action. It's good to see you guys out there. AC, good morning out there. Morning, Steph. How we doing? What's going on, guys? First time I actually seen Palantir or PALTR. Is that Palantir that you were talking about there, Yaz Van? But let me know, man. It's good to see you guys out there. What's going on? Good morning, Vic. It's good to see you guys in the chat. And if you guys got a name you guys want to talk about, maybe it's some of those small caps. Steph, let me know what's moving out there from those small names. I do see Z car back up in the books out there. Man, no way this car company made another spike the way it did. That's crazy, guys. I remember when I was trying to short this thing, when this thing was up at, it's crazy. This thing did another split. That's how it got going here. Zoom Car Holdings up there towards $10, $11. I mean, this is as much as a pump and dump as you can imagine, guys. There's nothing here, but it doesn't matter sometimes, guys. Don't forget that it doesn't matter. This is the important part. Sometimes we get into this point where we think the market works logically. Well, it doesn't, guys. It works illogically, guys. It moves sometimes, and you're going to see moves like this all the time where a stock rips here 140%, staying sideways on the $9. We'll see what happens with this one towards the gate. Wow, what a rip, man. Every rip, though, getting pulled back down. Remember the strategy that we talked about yesterday with Garage Day Trader, Justin. What does he take? He takes these rips, right? Maybe shorting around the 1020s, 1030s, driving that back down to 750. Then this rip comes back towards that 1030s, that 1040s. It could have shorted right there again at 1035. Boom, right back down to the $9. There's some strategy in there. Kids. I thought you were calling me the kids. Steph, nah, just joking. But yeah, class over holdings. Look at that one up there to the 250. This one could pull back to the 190, and then we'll look to see if it kind of chops around the 250 range to $2. This one, it looks a little tired for me, Steph, and it looks like it's starting to slow down. So we'll see what happens with this one if it can keep going. But at least for my charting, this has 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts to get above the 250, and now is on kind of a correction move. We'll see what happens. All right, let's keep it going. We'll take a look at some other names out there. We can keep running through the sunrise. There's more out there to talk about. I mean, there's CVS earnings that we can get into. Let's take a look at CVS. CVS is pulling back here. It is up significantly. It's up there to 73. And it was all, I think, more about the mention of one thing. So it was talking about the weight loss drugs, Mounjaro, of course, and things like that, that they're going to go ahead and try to help to get that to their plans. So essentially meeting the cost, right? And so that's giving them a nice little lift today with the EPS at 225 versus 170. Revenues at 94.59 billion versus 93.64 billion estimate. Things are looking good here. So I think we got to continue to watch here to see if CVS can spark some other healthcare plans to the upside. So what do? You just take a look at some of the other names. Like one of the names that we've been keeping an eye on, UNH, right? UNH has been down there in the gutter. Will this one start to turn around and make a little bit of a comeback? I know a lot of people have been taking a look at that one, or maybe it's Humana. Maybe it's a name that you feel a little bit better about, right? We'll see what happens with these names, see if they can start getting a lift. I always like to trade Alliance Health, but this has taken a major beating also. We'll see if it can start to make its way back above the 420s and start to climb towards the 440s today. Alliance Health with CVS report on the background. So CVS, of course, getting that nice little push to 72.60s today. This one seems to be a little extended, so watch out for a little pullback. We'll see what happens there. And of course, there's other quick movers. We've talked about Hood. It was dropping a little bit, but now really getting the lift there despite an earnings beat. Qualcomm gave some soft guidance despite the Q2 beat. So Qualcomm soft guidance really kind of affecting it here. I think this is all about the exposure to China. So of course, Qualcomm makes a lot of their chips there in China, and that's going to be a big move. And of course, we've been hearing more and more mentions of about NVIDIA, mentioning about scared actions that are going on in China, essentially trying to push them out with their AI chip. So those AI export controls are actually hurting these companies like Qualcomm and NVIDIA. So if you're wondering why these companies are down, it's exactly the issue that's going on in China that's costing these companies right now. All right. Of course, Sprouts did fall down off of that report, but it's right back up. So we'll see what happens there in Sprouts. That's one to keep an eye out for. Last one on the Sunrise report today is going to be, of course, Amazon, as it is up on a $4 billion investment in small town delivery. I think this is an important move as Amazon continues to do what? They continue to expand away from UPS trucks. And they don't want to use UPS trucks. They want to use their own last mile delivery trucks. So this means more negativity for UPS and positive for Amazon. Of course, it's an investment, but Amazon has more than the cash needed to go ahead and get this done. Of course, the big question of the day, with the tariffs reshaping global auto, pharma, and tech, what sectors benefit from this America's first manufacturing push? Reply, of course, guys, with your takes in the chat. We'll catch some comments on that, and we'll keep it moving. Let's go, guys. Let's get ready for the open. It's 9:11. We still got a little bit here before the open. And, of course, at 10:30, going to be joined by my man, Dennis Dick from Triple D Trading from Pre-Market Prep. If you guys don't know the action there, of course, check him out. And he's also a part of the Stock Traders Network, which is essentially a network that lets you get access to the market action, a continuous stream that talks about the market. So if you want to check that out, take a look at that as we get towards that. Derek, what's going on out there? How we doing? It's good to see you in the chat. And Michael Noss out there, I saw some comments on Twitter saying that they got their faces ripped off, pretty much calling out those Bears on the yesterday's action. So we'll be looking to see Michael Noss get back here next week. Hope he's enjoying the conference out there and having a good time. All right, let's keep going, guys. We'll be taking a look at some other actions there. And we'll be seeing what we can do to make some money. All right, looking around out there, it's time to make some money, guys. We'll be taking a look to see what we can find. Definitely, of course, the jobless claims coming in here and scaring the market for a second, but market coming right back. And Secretary Bassett said, we expect to see the number revised, referring to the GDP, and says the administration is privatizing the economy. We'll see what happens on that. And more conversation says strategic uncertainty is negotiating tactic from Trump. Yeah, I don't think that's a real move there. We're going to bring down China's unfair trade barriers and hold China to its prior commitments. We'll see what happens on that end. And then some more action here being talked about. Just pretty much the same thing, pretty much saying that China's factories are shutting down as we speak. We will push for fair trade with China. and that they're already starting to see some shutdowns happening, and the pressure's on. He said also that China, if holiday orders not place, it could be devastating for China, and pretty much trying to put pressure on China. At least that's what I see from the action here. And also says that Trump's tax bill is being worked on, something to think about. All right, guys, let's keep taking a look out there. And of course, there's going to be more catalyst that comes in the market today. We'll take a look at the action here. Let's go to the SPY here, as the SPY is just hanging out at 560s. And another thing that we got, overnight action. I keep talking about this, guys. The action is happening in overnight, not in the intraday. So we'll see what happens today. Even though yesterday was pretty much a whipsaw back up, right? I mean, crazy move back up there, guys. After we gap down, we drop, find some bottoming, and reverse right back. What have I been talking about? It's been the contrarian market, right? The reversals have been in play big time after time, right? It's just the way that the market's been working. So now we'll see what happens. Do we get some pullback action after this has been ripping? We could see some pullback out the gates. All right, let's keep taking a look out there. And if you guys have got a stock or a trade you guys want to talk about, throw it up in the chat. I'm looking on the street to see if there's anything else that I might have missed while I was on here. I know that there's the Tesla news, right? Tesla supposedly was searching for a new CEO. Tesla poo-pooed this and said pretty much this report was false, and it never happened. Well, that could be why you're seeing Tesla down like it is, but we'll have to wait to see what happens there. And kids, you mentioned again, did this rip another level? I don't know, man. I think this is done, but we'll have to wait and find out on this one. I feel like it's on a pullback. We'll wait and find out here. This one did do a nice little rip up. It did do a nice little expansion. Now trying to hold on the 9 EMA. We'll see if it pulls back there towards the $2. Not one that I like right now, but hey, best of luck to all you guys on that, kids. Big milkshake. Get that milkshake, man. All right, we're looking around to see what else is making a move here. I'm going to the scanners here to see what other ones are making moves. I have Z-Car. I have kids we talked about. Let's take a look at some other ones here. And Z-Car is still looking like the better one. I still think this is the better one right now, guys. This one's actually holding the trend and going higher. So another spike just happened on Z-Car where it went there towards the $10. And it's kind of on the sideways pattern. I think like this one at least is holding on the top end, and it's over the $2 range. I don't like those that are below $3 on kids. I like them to be above $3. But hey, to each his own if you like this name. All right, we'll see what some other ones bring in today. Of course, I'm seeing some other ones. What about how did how did SMTC do yesterday? And then also SMCX. SMCX was one that I was looking at yesterday to see what happens with this company. We'll see what happens. SMCI could be coming down here. I feel like it's still going to be a crash on this stock. But we'll have to wait and find out. Definitely a bounce there off the 30s. Will it come right back down today? I think it's something to look at, especially if we go red. This could be one way to make some easy money out the gates. I still feel like this company is going to go to zero, but it's hard to bet on companies going to zero. I'll tell you that. It definitely is. It's not something that's an easy bet. All right, I do see a lot of action going on out there. I'm seeing now Shake Shack up 7%. Let's go to that. Shake Shack up 7% and continuing to rise on their earnings. Big push up there. First push down, now going up there to $94. Big breakout here in the Shake Shack. That one could actually affect other restaurant names, right? We got McDonald's to come out today. Let's see if we get Wingstop to make a bigger move, of course, right? Yesterday, huge move up, guys. This was a big rip during the market. It went down out the gates there and went all the way back to 265. That was a huge run. We could see a pullback to 262 and then a continuation back above 267. So we'll see what happens there in Wingstop and other names there. What about pizza, Papa John's, names like that? I'd keep an eye out on the restaurant names. Seems like they're getting the love. Bros. You guys know how I love my Dutch bros. We'll see if that can make another lift here, as it looks like a kind of like a longer cup and handle. It really needs to hold in here, because if not, 57s could come back into play. What about Starbucks here, guys? Starbucks did take the hit yesterday, but since it's on the downside, guys, I have a tendency of always starting to want to bet against Starbucks, and then I see it rip back. So I'm looking at essentially the positive side today. If it can get back above the 80-50s, it could start making a move here. We'll see what happens. I mean, it didn't have the most positive report, but it wasn't a negative, right? They are doing some adjustments. They're trying to make some changes. They're cutting on equipment costs, trying to add on labor, making the stores try to run smoother. Something to look at in Starbucks. TQQQ looking like Michael's VWAP fade setup possibly. Let's take a look there. Of course, the VWAP fade look would be what? It would be a nice little push above, and then the VWAP kind of rejecting back below. So we'll see what happens on that TQQQ. I mean, it's not a bad VWAP rejection play there. We'll see what happens if it can do the move. Of course, his move is more towards the open. Like if it does a big jump and then it starts to come back down, then he can short that extended stock off of that VWAP. But I can't blame you for looking at it, Shockwave. This is similar. It's just a pre-market setup of the strategy. But let's see if we get some of those strategies towards the open. Not a bad mention, Shishak. Appreciate you coming in. All right, let's keep it going, guys. We got a little bit more for you guys. It's about 10 minutes before the bell. And boy, oh boy, by myself here, it's a lot of Mitch. Let's just say that much. Let's keep things going. We'll have some more traders join in just a little while, guys. Of course, let's get some other traders in here. Let's keep moving. Let's keep pushing. All right, taking a look at some other action out there. Let's go to some names out there. Let's go to the sectors and industries. We can take a look at certain action there to see what's continuing to lift. Another thing to think about today is with the Qs as high as they are, what will they sell off, right? So that's why I'm looking at the defensive area as the area that could be that sell-off area. And you look right now, if you look at the XLP, it just made a little push there to the 82 almost and couldn't do it. A little part of me is thinking that we could make a run to 82 and then fade down. We'll see what happens there if we see some further downside action. All right, guys, I did hear a little in my ears, so that means somebody wants to say hello. Like always, guys, smash the like. I'm probably get him on in just a second here. I'm trying to let him get set up here. But like always, guys, smash the like. We got more for you guys. We're going to continue battling in this market. The bulls in full control yesterday, of course, as the bears jumped in there. What really, I don't think it was the bears. I think it was just an attempted washout of the bulls and then the recovery coming in. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and get you guys some more information. Like always, I did see in the chat, people were asking, where the hell is Michael Noss? Where the heck is that guy? I need that guy. That guy makes me some money. Let's go ahead. Let's bring him on here. The man himself from New York. What's going on, Michael Noss? How's it going?
It's going fantastic. It was such a good time, right? I got to hang out with the Stock Twits crew. Got to talk about Trade the Pool a bit. Got some people interested there. And then my flight got delayed. So I got some time to hang out for a little bit and take a look at the markets, which, man, what a day yesterday. What a candle. That was crazy.
What a day. What a day indeed, right? I mean, it was a good wash of those bulls. At least the weak hands. The weak hands got stomped yesterday as the markets went higher towards the end. Anyone that sold yesterday, I'm sure, is looking back and being like, man, what did I do? What did I do? Well, what happens today? What are we looking for? I think we're still in a positive sense. But like I mentioned, we could see some sell-off with the Qs as high. Maybe other sectors kind of get hit, some safety trades, something like that. But if anything that's on your radar out there, Michael?
Well, I think, you know that I love to fade gaps, right? And so that gap in Microsoft is one I'm going to be looking at. All these things I think are, it might be one of those days like we talk about all the time where a lot of the actions happened in the pre-market, right? You had Microsoft, you had all these things, they gapped up, they moved quite a bit. So I'm going to watch to see a little bit off the open when I'm waiting here for my flight. But just to see if they fade, right? So I'm looking at Microsoft if it breaks back through VWAP. I'm looking at a handful of these different names. I know there's a McDonald's call going on right now, so
Yeah.
this is the time, right, for the strategy has been working out really, really well during this time, fading these gaps. That and HIMS, I think, is kind of interesting. After that wicked news that had 2 days ago, nice little pullback there. Could be a good little pickup on a dip.
Yeah, yeah. We will for that mention. We'll put on the radar, right? HIMS, and HIMZ for the leverage action.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens
if
to
you're
that.
real crazy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see what happens. 2 times HIMS long, and we'll keep watch as Palantir is up big. That's definitely doing really well. You still swinging that, Michael? You still got a little swing in that? I think.
Yeah, I'm still in. It's that rotation strategy updates monthly. So I got a new update last night. I ran all those numbers and it's still in. So Palantir and Netflix still in those. It picked up Eli Lilly of all things. That was an interesting one. I didn't expect that, but yeah, Palantir is one of those things. It's nearing that all-time high. So it's nearing that point at which everybody who's short may need to cover. I don't know if it's going to do one of those breaks all-time highs by a little bit and then sells again. But yeah, a couple of these names are starting to look good. Like that Lilly chart long-term is looking very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of names out there that are starting to differentiate themselves from the crowd. They're starting to get to new all-time highs way before the market is getting anywhere close.
Can't blame you, man. And I hope you enjoyed the day too. I know that you got a little bit of some time here before your flight. If anything, you got to go out, go enjoy New York, my friend.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little more walking around. I'm gonna go see. I'm by Union, right? So I've got the Union Park right outside. So
there's
I'll do a
2
little walk
places
around there, but then
there's 2 places for the
Right.
sweets. I'm a sweets kind of guy. Magnolia Bakery
okay.
is one. If you like yourself a banana pudding, pudding that I'm telling you right now, you can't get better. Or Milk. Milk is a store that is made by Christina Tosi, man, you get anything there. It's just it'll blow your mind. So maybe take some home sweets for the family. So just giving you some great tips there in New York, like always. It's a fun place to
I
be.
like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. I've got maybe another hour or two before I gotta go, so I'll walk around, see if I can find those.
Next time, Michael, I gotta link you up with Rally's CEO, so that you can go check out the Collectors Museum in New York. It's awesome, man. They have so many cool collectibles there. I don't know if you guys have heard about Rally. It's essentially like a collectibles platform that you can kind of like buy a collector or a stock of that collectible, and then they sell it at a higher valuation and pay out like dividends, right, to the owners. So it's a really cool kind of platform for collectibles and for people like yourself and I that like to make investments but don't know where to invest. You know, maybe you can't go and invest in some big real estate, but maybe you believe in certain like collectibles that are going to continue to increase in value. Like I know they sold like even like a purse the other day, a Birkenstock purse for like $80,000, and it started at like $2,000 the purse.
Wow.
So like, you know, collectibles like that, I mean, they're interesting. So just a cool mention. I know there's that Rally Museum in New York. I got to visit it the other time, and it's amazing. But yeah, man, have a great time, man. I'm gonna let you get out of here so that you go ahead and enjoy your day, man. But thank you for stopping by. I know the team really enjoys it, and it's always good to have you, Michael.
Yeah, well, again, good things meeting people out there in the world, and especially the guys at StockTwits. So I think you may see us a little bit more around that hood too. I think that's an interesting place to find like-minded people that are looking for trading. So we'll chat about that when I'm back, and yeah, I'll be right back to it. And on Monday, and no travel plan for the near future. So we'll be getting back to it, hanging out, trading markets.
Hey, my friend. We'll have you back soon. We'll see you back on Monday. Stay safe. Have a safe flight, and hopefully no more delays. Wish you the best of luck, my friend.
Hopefully. See ya.
Take care, Michael.
Later.
All right, guys. You guys have a good one. And thanks for Michael jumping in there. I just wanted to get him out so he can go enjoy his day. But thanks, man. I know that the family here enjoyed it. A lot of you guys giving some good love in the chat. They're good and happy to see you, man. And glad that you had a good time. Stay safe out there. Let's get back to the markets, guys. We're getting close to the open here. Let's get ready. It's 9:28. Open's coming fast here, guys. We'll see how we trade the open here. I might take some trades today, guys, and try to be a little bit faster, especially try to take a little bit more trades since you guys are just watching me. So I'm going to be like in and out. Sometimes you guys might see it just come quick and in and out. I'm going to be trying to take some quick trades here. Let's see what happens out the gates, though. Will we get a little bit of a pullback out the gates or a quick move to the upside? I think those two plays are here, and I'll be watching to see what happens. A little part of me thinks that maybe we get a little bit of an upside as we just got this pullback towards the gates, but let's see if they put some more pressure on pre-market buyers. So essentially, that'd be a break of this 560 out the gates. If that 560 breaks, that could put more pressure on those pre-market buyers. We'll see what happens here. Z-Car definitely still in play. A bunch of these smaller names. Look at that Z-Car run back towards the 1050. I talked about how this one looked a little bit better than that other one that we were looking at this morning. But then the kids, right? I just didn't see that in the kids. Kids did make a 250 run, but starting to pull back. If anything, I feel like that one's a nice little pullback opportunity out the gates here. Hims definitely in play. We'll talk about that play. And we'll be looking around to see what we can catch. The gold shorts has been very hard, guys. Very hard. So let's get after it, guys. All right, let's go. Let's go. Looking around there. Kids starting to come down here. I might get short on kids here. I just feel like it's a good play to get short here off of the 240s. I would have to risk off the 260s, of course. But let's see what happens here with the kids. All right, kids kind of trying to make a move towards the 250s. We'll look to see if it gets above the 250s or will it reject here? Just taking a look at it out the gates. I'll be watching around. I see technology up right out the gates here. Kids trying to hang in this 250s. We'll see what happens to Zoom Car. What happened to that one out the gates there? Rejecting the 1020s, the 11 breakout there. Pulling back here towards the $10. The thing about the Zoom Car is the spread's getting a little wide there, so just be careful out there. There's 250s on kids. We'll see if it gets back above that 250s. It's struggling right there. Let's see if it can break back above that 250 here. Kids trying to get the move, but just can't do it right now. We could get a pullback here. Look at the 15-minute, and I could see a pullback coming to the 191s. So we'll see what happens. Will it break above the 250s? I think this is the big spot here. All right, guys, they feel like this is a nice little setup play here. I'm going to take a starter here, guys, and I'm looking to add a little bit here. But there it goes into the green there. Let's see if it can come back to the 250s, or will it just reject that 250s and start to break down here? I took a small trade here just to try to get the starter on there. We'll add to it if I need to. Let's see if I give it an opportunity here to get back above the 250s, back above that 250s. I got to be a little bit careful. I want it to come towards like 248 and then really fail here. Let's see what happens. It's failing the 240s right now. We'll see what happens if it starts to break down here or make a move back above the 250s. All right, guys, seeing Microsoft rip higher, guys. I'm looking around out there. Qs are doing decent. They did pull back out the gates there a little bit. We'll see what happens. Another one on my radar, SMR. SMR pulling back here. We'll look to see if it can get back above the 1726, but it's definitely on the radar here for a trade. We'll see what happens here. I'm getting a little bit of a push there. It got to the 249. I talked about how I'd look for a 250 push and then a turn right back to the downside here. So now looking to get into the green to add to the strategy here, add to the play back through this kind of 238s, 237s. I'll add for the breakdown here. Getting a little bit of a squeeze back towards the 250s. Can't let it squeeze above 256 here. So there it is. I'm out, guys. Just like that. Got out there for a little bit of a hit there. Just $30. Small. Nothing big there. But now kids trying to make that 260 run. I don't think it'll do the 260 run, but I'm not going to also push there, right? With these small names, you can't push early. You got to look to get a nice little win on that. And that's a nice rejection. You see how it came right back down? That was the sweep right back down, guys. That was it right there. So there's a sweep back towards the 230s. This is kind of what I was looking at. I just didn't want to risk too much early on, but there's a little sweep back towards the 230s. It looks like kids is coming down here. I could try to jump off the 240s there, but it's only about 40 cents to the downside. I'll keep it going. Let's go looking at other names there. Apple mentioned in the chat. Good mention there. Good jump in Apple. That is jumping there towards the 210. Of course, India deal could be next. So Apple is one that is definitely on a watch. And not looking bad out at the gates here. Nice little push there from 209 to 211. Got up there to 211.60s. We'll see if it pulls back and makes another step up. AMD struggling here, back down to 99. I was taking a look at it to see how that was performing. Tesla pushing right back up there, guys. So Tesla, big push there. So we could see Tesla continuing to push there. It's not a bad little move on the first action here. We'll look to see if we get a little bit of a pullback back towards the VWAP. Right now, it did touch here multiple times. Let's see if it can come back here towards $10 or $10.15 and then make the next step up. I don't want to buy up here at the 1050s, but it looks interesting. Hood's definitely one to watch here. We'll see what happens if Hood can get back up there above the 50s. Hood at 50s. It did pull back there. I like Coin, but Coin is on the pullback right now, so we're definitely getting some pullback on these names. SMR still holding in here. This one's back and forth. I still really like these nuclear names. I really like how this is setting up here. It could make a big breakout today. I would love for it to come back to 17s. It did come back to 17.15s, but it hasn't broken to the next level. We'll see what happens on SMR. NNE is another one to play here. That one's continuing to push. It had pulled back yesterday. Could break above the 24s today. All on my radar, especially with GEV. GEV pulling back a little bit and continuing the trend. This one's just been an absolute really good name to have. We'll see what happens there. Zcar is at 966, so definitely came back on Zcar there, and I think it just went into a halt. Yeah, halt at 11.49, so went back down to the $10 and really pushed right back up. Zcar, big push there, guys. So that seemed like the better name there in the morning from kids, and it seemed like I was right. And kids still coming down, so I wasn't wrong there. I just kind of missed that spike there and got caught on the spike, but it is breaking down. It could be breaking down to the $2 spot or 190. So we'll see what happens in that one. Going to leave it alone and going to look at some other names and keep it going here. I'm talking really fast, so if you guys need me to slow it down, let me know out there. Energy is leading the upside action. We're getting a breakout in energy, not something you expect here. So definitely seeing that lift there. Chevron pushing 136.90s. So really quick push there in oil today and energy. Didn't expect to see that. XLU also pushing up there today. So definitely we're getting the pullback. And in healthcare, it's pretty big. Eli Lilly coming down fast there. So XLV really taking a hit there. We'll see what happens there. What about the Johnson & Johnson? Is that taking a hit? Yeah, it is. UPS coming back, guys. That one's an interesting. That's a little bit of a reversal action. We'll see what happens there on UPS today if it can bottom out here around the 95. There's kids, another rejection from the VWAP. We'll see what happens on that kids one, guys. This is a little bit of a back and forth stock here. It's hanging out at VWAP, though, a little bit too long here. So it could just bounce off of this VWAP and come back. We'll see what happens. All right, looking around out there, trying to make some more trades, looking around to see what I can find. SPY coming back here. Now coming back to the VWAP. We'll look to see if it gets the dip buyers here. Looking at what's leading the SPY here, I see Cardinal Health. So more of those health plans starting to show up there. Alvion's Health going up to the upside. We'll see what happens there. CVS, how's that one continuing? CVS pulled back to the 70, now starting to bounce a little bit there. I saw the healthcare plans bounce, so maybe this is a dip to get after on CVS. Not a bad move off this first action. Just bounced off the 70s. Made it back up there. Could be going back towards the 71. We'll see. See if it makes an attempt here for the 70s and then recovers back towards 71.50s, the VWAP. But CVS definitely leading on the downside, actually. All right, looking around out there, guys. Looking to see what you guys are talking about. What you guys are looking at. SPY kind of hanging in there. We'll see what happens to the SPY. It is hanging in right now. SMR back to the 17. So looking around out there. Energy leading. Not something that I expected. I'll tell you that much. I'm sure it's catching a lot of people by surprise. Technology still leading the action there. I'm looking for some pullback action there and some technology that makes sense. Apple pulling back there. Doesn't look too bad. And Nvidia's in the red. Meta, big pullback there. 2 point something percent. So Palantir pulling back. So we're getting a lot of the early pullback here. Shot pulling back. It just seems to me like they're trying to break it down a little bit here. There's CVS right back to the VWAP. 71s here. Could reject. It could go higher. So it wasn't a bad outlook to maybe look for a little bit of a bounce play on CVS. The buy the dippers coming in on CVS. Back up towards 71. Doesn't look bad. It is recovering pretty fast there. Other healthcare is not looking too good there. Molina Health is the best one there. Seeing Steel Dynamics do good there. That's not a bad one. I've been talking about this one. It's just hard to grab it, and it just seems to me like it's more of a swing vehicle based on the spread, but it's still looking good there in steel. Nucor also, big push there to 121.31. So it's not looking bad. Is X trying to give it to me today? We'll see. Let's see if we can get a trade here on X. All right, nice little bottoming pattern here. Could get a nice little lift off here and go back towards the trend line approach here. Doesn't look bad. It's, of course, some steel is having a decent day today. Let's see if we can get a little bit of some lift here in US Steel. Daily chart doesn't look bad, but it keeps topping out here at the 45s. Doesn't seem to want to hold the 45s. Qs just took a quick dip there. Quick dip, guys. Quick dip on the Qs there. There's the dip, guys. There's the VIX jumping. Let's try to get a little VIX scalp here. Trying to get a little quick VIX scalp here. Q's dropping fast here, guys. I'm going to try to grab it. See if I can get a pullback fill here. There you go. Just grabbed some 200 shares there of the VIX on the pullback. We'll look to see if we get a little bit of a spike here on the VXX back to the upside. The really thing is the Qs came down fast there. Let's see if it catches a dip there, or is it going to drop a little bit further? I'm looking for a little further drop here. Let's see if we can get that to start making the move here. All right, seeing it hold on here now. We could start seeing the push here. Let's see what happens. Will the Qs continue to come down, or will they find the bounce? It's 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 bottomings here. Will we reject the 482s and go back to the 483s? Or what's going to happen here? I think it's an important watch here. Could be another kind of leg down towards the kind of the 481s here. Let's see if it holds this 482 and bounces, or does it reject it? All right, looking to see if we can get a little bit of a lift off here. But the Q's coming back down is what I'm looking for. Let's see what happens right here, right now. All right, guys, just added towards it, looking for the push there. Let's see if we get that breakdown on the Q's. If not, going to have to step out here. All right, looking for that next attempted move here. Let's see if it starts to recover back above this level. This is the level for recovery, guys. It's going to be this 482.22s. Back above that, we got to be a little bit careful that the downside pullback is actually starting to be a buy the dip moment. Let's see what happens here. It's right on it right now, and we're almost at 945, so could see some reversal action here. All right, we'll give this a shot, guys. I'm giving it a shot here for the move. Let's see if we actually get the move here that we're looking for. Q's coming back there. We'll see if it does a rejection move here. Quick pullback. Q's starting to bounce there. Could get back there to the 483s, so watch out. Dips being bought here. Apple right there. Didn't come back to the VWAP. Tells me more strength coming right back into the market here, guys. Meta down, but could start making its way right back to the upside here. Microsoft pushing strong, guys. Pushing strong right back to the 435s. All right, guys, we'll see if this starts to turn around or it starts to come down. I'm almost out of my trade, almost getting stopped out of my trade here. Just needs to reject right now. If not, I'm going to go ahead and get out here. See if this can start to get the move here, guys. I'm a little bit underwater here, guys. About to get hit a little bit if the SPY keeps coming back up. Just overreacting there to the downside there. I will say, guys, I definitely think I overreacted a little bit to the downside action here. And it just seems to me like it keeps getting me, guys. I need to be a little bit more patient on that downside. Keep looking at the bigger time frames. The smaller ones are what's getting me here, guys. If I stick to the time frames here, the 15-minute is holding in well. The support is right here underneath it, and it's doing an undercut underneath this and trying to rally back there. So I'm just watching these levels to see what happens on the 15. All right, starting to come back towards my levels at least. Not looking too bad there. Let's see if we actually get the move that I'm looking for. And now I'm in at 62s here, looking for an attempted move down to see if we get it. But if not, going to have to wash out here, guys. So let's stay on the bigger time frames just to kind of watch it here. We'll see what happens if it starts to climb back towards the 484s. All right, market's still holding in well here, guys. We'll see if some other names start to show up there. Microsoft still pushing, guys. 435s higher at 436.99. Still looking good there in Microsoft. How are you guys doing with your kind of your Zcar and those names? Zcar 1360 now. Wow. That reopened up and kept going. Kids now down to 222s and still not going anywhere, essentially. All right, guys, not looking good here in this VIX trade. Just trying to see a little spike here, see if I can at least get out and to just take some quick gains here. Let's see what happens. I think it's all about the Qs here. We'll see what happens towards this. Will we get a rip out above the 484s? Honestly, I got to listen to myself a little bit more on my shorts, man. I'm literally calling it on the opening action. I'm just not getting it the opening action, and then I'm taking it when it's starting to break the support. That's a little too late, guys. I can't be shorting into the weakness. I can't do that, guys. That's where I'm doing it wrong right now and getting caught here. Could take a big hit here, guys, as it's starting to drop fast. The Qs are dropping, starting to move up fast here. So I'm just going to put the risk here. If I get hit, I get hit, guys. That's going to be a big hit, and I'll have to start trying to bounce back on the day. All right, looking around out there, guys. Steel Dynamics still working really well. So the steel name's still doing well here, guys. So X could be an opportunity for me here. Nucor could be a name too. Cleveland Cliff also ripping there. So I think that, yeah, X is one to definitely look at here for a lift back toward the 45s. Doesn't look bad there. Let's see if X is trying to give it to me here. Oh, my God. And then as soon as I look there, it's already jumping, getting the jump there, guys. It's kind of hard now. It's at least 12, 15 cents higher from where I wanted to grab it right now. See, just jumped there. And I was trying to grab it at the 44.15s. It's now 44.28, almost 44.30s. We'll see what happens there on that name. Definitely taking the beating right now on the VIX there. We'll see what happens. SPY's going higher, so I don't feel good. I think I'm just about to get clicked right now in the Qs. Yeah. I'm getting clicked out of that, guys. I'm going to take a big beating there in the Qs. Not a good look there. Not a good opening action on my end. UPS looking good there. We'll see if that can start to climb and actually work its way back from the bottom. Fake was a really strong move out the gates there. Not out the gates in pre-market. Now starting to pull back out the gates. We'll see what happens there. Wingstop also rejecting a little bit there. We'll see what happens. Qs kind of pulled back a little bit there. I'm still hanging in there just a second there, but it doesn't look good, guys. It doesn't look good. All right, we'll see what happens here if I can actually get the Qs to pull back a little bit there, but they're strong right now. I will say that. 15 minutes still has a nice little green bar attempt that it could go and create that advancing shoulders look. All right, about to cut half of it right now, guys. And just when I say that, the bid just drops out there. So it keeps just dropping out there, guys. Got to be careful for this cut through the 63 spot here. Yeah, this is going to cut me there through the 63s if it comes back through it. So just too big, too fast here, guys. And that's the problem there. I'm getting too big, too fast, and then I'm not seeing the trade even work in my direction there before I'm making my ads. That's where I'm making the mistake, and I've been doing it for the last kind of week now. I think a big part of this is also just the way that I've been kind of dealing with some things on the personal side of things, guys. And when you deal with things on the personal side of things, it can definitely weigh into your trading. I've been dealing with a loss, and it's just, I feel like it's just been coming into my trading and making me push and push. I feel it today. I pushed way too much out the gates here and caught a little bit. I'm always going to tell you guys when I'm on the wrong side of things. Right now, I'm caught. Kids finally popped. Kids finally popped. We'll see what happens there, guys. We'll see if kids can really make that move there. I'm still seeing that little drive here, trying to make the move. There's the Qs pulling back a little bit. I'm going to have to give it a chance here and keep trying to let it try to bounce here. We'll see what happens there. 63.30 starting to come back there. If I could get to the 63.40s, 63.60s there, I'll just cut out there, break even, look to reset here. Kids, let's take a look at kids. There's finally the pop to the 280s there. Could get towards the 3. It could get on the halt. It was hanging out on the VWAP for so long. Finally, someone bought it there and really made that jump there towards the 280s. So shout out to you guys that stayed on the kids. Hang in there, guys. Get it, guys. Get it. Get that kids, guys. All right, we'll see what happens here, guys. I'm definitely getting on the pressure here. I'm probably going to get stopped out. It doesn't look like I'm going to get back into the green on this position. I'll be honest. Giving it the chance here, but don't feel good about it. Back towards the 63.30s here. We'll see if we get another little lift here, but it just keeps fading, keeps fading, keeps fading. Qs could break the 484s now on this next move here, so watch for the break there. About to take a big hit here, guys, and it's going to be a tough one to take, but I got to get out if it keeps doing what it's doing. Unless the Qs come right back down to the low, I'm not looking good here. I'm looking around trying to make another trade because if I keep staying on this one, I'm just going to get lost in this one. X was a nice one, went to 44.50s, pulling back, trying to hold the 90 MA, just didn't get that trade there. SMR coming back through the 17s, doesn't look too bad there. I'm looking also at Sprouts. Coin and Hood, how are those doing? Kind of down also. CVS, though, holding on that recovery now towards 72. Q's finally making a little attempt there. I might be able to get back towards break even. Let's see if this actually does give me a little bit of some winning action here. It's been a tough one, guys. I'll tell you guys that. Man, just a little too big here, and that can happen. And you feel the pressure really quickly, right? Zoom car third halt. Oof. That one might be on the downside after that third halt. I don't know, but Zoom car is a crazy stock. I will say that. Q's back to VWAP. It could hold VWAP here, though, guys. So we'll see what happens. I'm just still watching this 15-minute chart. See what happens to the 15 minutes in the next, what? We got 6 minutes? 6 minutes, guys. 6 minutes. Big watch there now. 5-minute candles coming back down. Might give me a little spike here to get out. Fourth halt on Zoom car. Oh, halt on the downside there. Like I talk about, after the third halt, a lot of times we get a down halt there. I hope my man Justin, Garage Trader, was able to nail that one. We'll see what happens there. Qs are coming down a little bit here. Let's see if we can get some type of spike here to at least take some cushion here. Q's coming down there. All right, 15-minute candle just went red. Will it close red? Let's see. Let's see. Microsoft starting to pull back there. Apple starting to pull back. That's one that could be good if the market continues in the green because Apple's still looking like it's holding up pretty well. Meta's dragging pretty fast, and that's another reason why we're getting this pullback. Let's see how Tesla's doing. Tesla's holding in well, 285s. Still looking to see what the Qs do here, if we get some further downside action or not. It's holding in well, guys. It's just pulling back here, trying to stomp out some of the early bulls. We'll see if it holds on. Needs to break the 482 spot to really start to look a little dangerous for the bulls. Still got about 4 minutes left there on this candle here, and it's going to be a big spot to watch there on this 5-minute candle. It could just come ramping right back up here. Yeah, it's doing that, just that move right now, guys. So we'll see if that attempt actually holds here. I'm just holding to the risk to return at this point. What I do see on the charts, though, is my buying keeps being on resistance versus support. I need to get back towards buying on the support, not the resistance. That's where I'm making the mistake right now, and I clearly see it. Yes, and I'm stuck in it. Are you stuck long or are you stuck short? So Stale Bella Farm. One of the things also is that remember that sometimes your orders can't get through after the halt. So try to get those orders in as soon as it opens to try to give yourself an ability to move around a target profit or a stop loss. And remember that your stop loss will not trigger if the halt kind of comes in there. But if your stop loss was out and it goes below that, it'll be an instant trigger when it comes back. Things like that are all important to know. What's going on, Rando? I think it was fine, Mitch. It could be just fine. Hey, we'll see what happens there. For me right now, is one of the things is just trying to find the right sizing. I feel like I'm a little bit kind of falling off on sizing. The Q is coming down there, trying to make that attempt to give me at least a little bit of into the green here. Let's see what happens. Can I get the push to get back into the green? We'll see what happens. Qs are coming down here a little bit. How much further can it go, though? 2 minutes on this on the 10 o'clock turn. So we might make a triple bottom here. All right, guys, going to downsize here. It's just not making the move, and I don't want to be opening myself up to that much risk there. Missing that action there. Trying to get off on the bid there. Take some out there. I'm just going to get it off on the 38s. I keep not getting the push above the 40s there. So I just took off half the sizing. Took a $73 loss, but it's better than taking the $300 loss at the top there. So now at least this gives me the ability to stay in here and look to see if for some reason the Qs actually really break down here. Qs did an attempt there. It could wick and then come right back. So I'm just watching that action there. It's about 6 seconds towards the next 15-minute candle. And there's the leak. There's the leak. It's a little bit of a leak there. Now we're getting a little bit of a spread jump here on the VIX. Oh, crazy jump there in the VIX, guys. Crazy jump in the Qs. It's getting bought up again, guys. It's getting bought up right off that 15-minute bottom. I don't know which way this is going right now. Big wick there came in. Crazy amount of volume there right before that 10 a.m. number. So we'll see what happens. I know there's probably some news coming in on that. I'm looking around out there, guys. I'm looking. Wow, crazy swings here, guys. All right, guys, going to have to go ahead and set a stop here. It'll be about 1:30, so it's going to be about pretty much 200 on this risk of this trade here. We'll see if it starts to come back up there, but the Q's chopping all around there. Looking to see if there's anything news related. We got a manufacturing and some news to come in there. Some numbers came in. PMI for April at 48.7 versus a 48 estimate. Global manufacturing PMI at 50.2 versus a 50.7. So all below the estimates on manufacturing. That's what I'm seeing is affecting the market there. Construction also spending down about 0.5% versus a 0.2 estimate. So construction spending coming down, essentially showing a little bit more slowdown there in the numbers. But we got first reaction, it was actually up. Let's see if we get further down reaction here. Microsoft fading a pretty good amount there. UPS still doing really well there, at least for that stock there. Gold and Dust is doing really well today. Of course, today I don't trade it. It wants to do really well. That's just how it goes sometimes. I've been trading that trade multiple times. AU, same thing, dropping fast today. Gold dropping fast. Q's still coming down here. Still can just whipsaw right back to the upside here. So I just don't know which way the market's going right now. I can just be as honest as I can be, guys. Sometimes I feel like I got it. Right now, it's not it, man. You guys like it choppy? Oh, it's choppy right now. That's for sure. Appreciate you guys in the chat throwing up some ISM numbers and that. I pulled it, but I appreciate you guys like always. Little choppy here right on the bottom, and a lot of wicks tells me that it could be a trick to the downside, and then the whipsaw comes right back to the upside here, and you guys can see it here, guys. I'm about to get cut out here in the VIX here. The chop continues out there. Be careful, man. I'm telling you right now, it's just been not trade the first half hour of the market. The first half hour is the sucker move. It's been the sucker move for a while now, guys. I think that I'm just being the sucker because a lot of this is also the fact that I'm here and I'm by myself trying to run the show, and the pressure gets put on there. So I have to take trades, and I need to take the opening action, not after on the support. That's where I'm doing it wrong. If I take the opening action, I've been right on the look each time. Where I've been wrong is after. Is looking in between in the support, trying to get that breakdown here around the 940s time versus just taking it right out the gates. If I take it right out the gates, I still make a good trade there. That's just how it is right now, and how it's been going for me at least. Especially right now, I'm in a rut. I'm dealing with a lot of things and just trying to run with it, man. But definitely big loss there, guys. Not what I wanted, of course. Down about 246. Got to bounce back. Got to look for the next trade. CVS still hanging out there. We'll see what happens on those other names. Kids, how did that open up? It's holding $3. We'll see if that can continue to run. It got there to 350s out of the halt, but then pulled back to 3 here. We'll look to see if it can continue to make the run here in kids. Of course, I'm out there, so let's see if the Qs start to break down here and it really starts to make the move. It's how it is sometimes. And maybe I should have held on the 63s, but I had enough, man. Here comes the Qs on the breakdown. We'll look to see if it actually does do a breakdown move. Seeing Apple now below VWAP. This could start to break down a little bit. Meta is still breaking down. Tesla's the one that was doing well, now starting to reject. So we could start seeing some downside come into the market here. Keep grinding. That's it, man. That's it. That's all I can do, Derek. SPY still holding in here. I think we're just playing the chop right now, guys. We got to get out of the chop range. Out of the chop. Right now, we're just stuck in the chop. Apple looking interesting on the pullback off that 210. Apple holding in well here, guys. I'm thinking about Apple off the 210.20s here. Looking good on the first action here. Slight hesitation. I don't know why I'm hesitating on this chart. All right, here's my opportunity. I grabbed a little bit there. Grabbing some Apple here, trying to get along a little bit on Apple here. Let's see if we can break back to the upside on the Qs. That could be a really nice push back up here. Qs back above here, trying to make the move back here. Still essentially getting stuck in the range. Still rejecting a little bit there. Now Apple washing on me. Just seems like the patterns are not holding, man. This is still a nice little bullish pattern, and then it's not holding. So we'll see what happens. Still looks decent there on the 15-minute. I'm trying to keep it on the 15-minute here. Still again, another buy on the resistance. Trying to wait on the Qs here. Definitely feeling the pressure, though. Just seems like the first half an hour, of the market lately has just been the sucker's move, man. And you got to be careful with that. It's just trying to make us over trade. And that's tough when you get into that over trading stage. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just over trading right now. Really, the market's been really good in the after hours and pre-market. That's why I'm excited to talk to Dennis Dick a little bit later today. But man, this market just, the patterns, at least in the intraday, are just not holding, man. Q's coming like down, right back down here. Getting an attempted move back, but I don't know if I can trust it, man. Right now, it's just not been the pattern type moves, man. We'll see what happens. I mean, the chart still says bullish outlook, so I'm staying on that, but overall market looking bearish. And then the problem is I'm already out of the VIX there and went too big. And now the VIX still looking like it could just jump back to the upside. So it's what it is just chop right now, guys. A bunch of chop. See what happens here to the market or the Qs. Qs still look like they want to break down there, but Apple's somewhat holding on, but I think it's going to let go here, and then got to be careful back through the 210. It's looking like it just doesn't want to hold on here. There goes, start to let go there. Q's starting to let go there. Probably going to get cut right here in Apple. I just set the stop there, 210.12, so should get hit here if it gets back there and through the 210s there. There you go. Just got hit again there on Apple. Just selling on support, buying on resistance. Not the way right now, guys. I'm just literally, I can't do it right now. I see it. I see it. I'm in just a bleed out, guys. Been given so much of my hard work in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, giving it up in just like a week. It hasn't been fun, just to say the least. There goes 210s, guys. So the VIX still looking like, and the Qs just still chopping around, guys. It still hasn't made a move. And a lot of this has been what? Afternoon trading, guys. If it was up to me really right now, I'd be like, well, you know what? Shut the show down the first hour. Let's wait till the second hour of the day to do the show. Because right now, it just seems like no patterns seem to hold in the morning. Look at the SPY. Look at it on the 15-minute. What has it done? Absolutely nothing. Just chop. The chop zone. The chop zone, man. Mitch, you use Pine script? No, I don't use it. I mean, I've done some kind of simple scripts for TC, and then it uses a different kind of coding. But hey, we'll see what happens there on that 210s here. Let's see what happens to Apple, but it's just the Q's still chopping around. It's not going anywhere here. The VIX could do a takeoff again, guys. I might take one more shot on the VIX there, but that's the only way that I can go after it. But it needs to break the high there. It needs to go through the 6360s here. It's just a chop right now, guys. We're below the VWAP on the Qs. Yeah, we keep making our way back there and rejecting the VWAP on the Qs. And the main thing is just it's one of those days where the action happened overnight, guys. The action happened overnight in the morning, and now it's kind of just a little bit of a leak. This is why I sometimes, still to this day, I still think that maybe I need to learn a little bit more of that after hours and pre-market action trading. And we'll have a specialist on today to talk all about that. So stick around, guys. Tick pool market intends. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Z-Car now at 1478. This thing's spiking, guys. This thing is still spiking there. Could go to another uphold. We'll see what happens. There's 15 there on Zoom-Car. This should have been the trade here, guys. This one's been doing really well all day, guys. And it had a nice pattern there, man. I just didn't even trade it. It's a trash stock, but at the same time, the pattern was there. 15 is going to be big here, guys. It could take 15 and go to 16 in a heartbeat. We'll see what happens. And wouldn't you know it, now the Q's kind of holding in there. It's just a chop, man. Chop session. Money Mitch, what do you think about the HIMS ahead of the 5-5 earnings? I think HIMS is the one on the watch to the upside today. You got to watch it. I think I'm watching HIMS to see if it can return. HIMZ. I'm looking at the leverage, but it's not a bad one. The earnings should be decent. It's been doing really well. I mean, think about the amount of commercials that it's been giving out. There's no reason why the commercials would be out if the company's doing bad. Another thing to look at is like we do on Earnings Hub, right? We talked about this, guys, about looking at earnings hubs and looking at the history. So maybe you need to look at the history of HIMS reporting, right? Maybe it's the history of HIMS, how they have reported in the past, right? So I can take a look at that here, and looks like the revenues have beat estimates 16 times, guys, out of 16 quarters. That's a really good positive outlook, right? I can pull it up here if you really like, guys. But HIMS, look, 16 out of 16 times. EPS has also done pretty well. 10 out of the 16 quarters. There has been some fades, but that was more in the bear market. Ever since pretty much 2022 quarter four, we've only had one red out of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different quarters there. So that's not too bad. It's showing positive outlook potentially here for HIMS. Starting to come back there. It's back there towards 16 and starting to recover here. Let's go looking at HIMS. All right, there it is off the 16 here. Let's see if we can play it off the 16 here. All right, just took a little starter there in HIMS. Let's see if this can get the lift above the 16s here. Long a little bit on the HIMS there. We'll see what happens. I took HIMZ here, right? And this is the leverage one. We'll see if it can actually make the move back here. 1550s right now, pretty much looking at that as being an area for support. Break of resistance here above the 1580s is what's getting the look for the buy for the move above the 16s. Let's see if this can actually break above the 16s. And Zoom-Car, how's that one doing now? Zoom-Car pulling back there. It broke to the 16 quickly. Now on the downside break. Could go into a hole on the downside. We'll see what happens there. It's moving all over the place, guys. Be careful out there with that Zoom-Car. And then Kids, how's that one doing? That's holding in on the 289. Could recover 3 still. It's slowing down after the speed up. That's where it gets hard on these. We'll see what happens there in Kids. The Q is just chopping around some more. Went back to the VWAP and doesn't want to break the range. It's staying in the range, essentially doing what? Causing traders to trade more and more, and then that's what is it's a real negative right now. All right, we'll start to see if HIMS can reverse a little bit here. If not, going to take another haircut, guys. And, man, it's going to be a bleed out there if we take this one. I'm going to keep trading, man. I honestly can't do anything else right now, but just keep it going. The problem with HIMS is that it did a decent move with the Notivace. Yeah, the NVS news. Yeah, it did do a nice little push. One thing that I've noticed is that Palantir came back. I know it's not related, but it has come back, right? Had a nice little dip and then another push. So I'm thinking HIMS can do the same. Push, pull back, and then get right back into the green here. We'll see what happens there in HIMS. Q is going right back up there. Doesn't look too bad there. Apple looks a little bit better now with the Qs started to join. And remember, I talked about how the 210 spot seemed to be like I missed that 210 push there. And I remember I was long on this thing, 200 shares. That's a $200 win there. So if I get that win, I'm only down maybe about 150. So really, I think I haven't been taking too bad of trades. It's just more, it just hasn't been working out for me. Too big of a size early. And that's where it's been. Q's still just playing games with people out there. Just seems like right now I can't get the timing right. The timing's off, and the timing part of it has just been that the later part of the day has been where the move's been. Yeah, GDXD spiked early. Yeah, man, it did. I tried to play that play literally the last 3 days, and today, it of course, works out. That's just how it goes sometimes, guys. I'm glad you were able to stick on it, though. SPY needs to break a little bit so the Qs can go down. We'll see what happens there, if the Qs actually even want to break. SMR looking interesting there. We'll see what happens with HIMS if this wants to start moving. It doesn't look bad if the market wants to break to the upside, but if the market doesn't break to the upside, probably going to get washed out in HIMS also. So I don't want to open more positions, even though I'm eager to take a look at SMR for the 17 recovery here, looking to see if it can go back to the 1750s. It doesn't look bad at all. I like NNE also. Look at that push to 24. This looks really good on the daily too. It can start to push back to 26 and 25 today. Really like this trade. It's just more, taking a lot of pain today. So try to get one into the green so that I can open up other trades here. NNE, SMR, GEV, all names that I like here on the recovery there. Utilities also with the GEV looking good there. Looking like it wants to break that 387. SMR could start seeing the lift there. Now back into the green there with HIMS. I can look at SMR here, but really the Qs haven't broken out in the right direction. So SMR is a risk off the 17. So it's about 15-cent risk there. Looking for a pop there towards the 70, 50s and above. This could go to 18 today. And above the 1750s, you have a big resistance at that 1747. So we'll look to see if we break above that. But SMR has been working. It's been sideways here, trying to collect some volume and make a move. We'll see what happens. Q is starting to push to the upside there, so it doesn't look too bad there on my HIMS. Let's see if it can really start to make the move. If the Qs reject, though, that's where it's going to be a tough rejection here, because it's right off of the the trend line. The trend line approach gives it a resistance right here around the 383s. All right, still no action there in HIMS if it wants to take the move there above the 16 here. I want to see 1620s show up, and then I want to see the Qs break through the 483s. There's the break through the 483s. Now starting to make the move here on Qs. Qs looking a little bit better. They're starting to push here. I'm going to go for a step up here in HIMS. Let's see if this helps. I'll take a shot here, trying to bounce back here. Let's see if we can bounce back. There's a little push there to the 1620s almost. Let's see if we can get a push here towards the 1660 area. There's to the 26th. I'm looking for a little push more into the 1640s, 1630s here. Q's still looking good here with me, so I'm hanging on here. There's a nice little push to the 1625s. Let's go. Let's push a little bit more here. Getting into the 1640s is going to really get a lot of my gains back here. So I'm trying to get back into the 1640s, take some profits, and then look to see what happens from there. There's a little spike into the 40s, but it's kind of slowed down there. So watching the Qs to see what happens. I'm looking to see if we can get a little bit more pop off here. There we go. Back to the 1640s. That's not going to be a bad one if I can take a little push into there. There's 39s on the offer. Just need a little bit more, and then I can start to take some profits here. There's into the 42s. Now looking a lot better here. There's 52s now, guys. So now I'm going to throw the stop on the 1640s in a second here. There's 55s. Now looking great here, guys. We're going to look to take a little bit of a pop above this and take the gains here. Trying to take the gains right now on the 62s here, guys. Trying to take the gains right now. Let's see if I can get it here. Come on, man. No fill. Come on. That one's a tough one, man. How did I not get a fill there? I have no idea. Trying to get the fill here, guys. I'm canceling right now. Just trying to get off of it. Man, that was close. I'm just trying to take the profits into that push there. There's the 60s. There's a push to 55s. I'm just going to take the 55s there, guys. I couldn't get it on the offer. It kept not trying to fill me there, so I just took it off there. 252, guys. At least a bounce back. Now I'm only down $100. At least gives me the ability to go ahead and at least not feel like I just got, destroyed today. So taking that money there, not a bad money gain there, and we'll keep pushing. What's up? What's up? Day by day. Hey, Money Mitch. Glad I found you. It's been a while since you disappeared from PMP. Yeah, man. Pre-market prep, man. It's always my fam, right? I always treat you guys like families. I have many families in the trading space, and I really enjoy it. But hey, thank you for coming on from them, right? AUR, Billy, did you see the news on AUR? I actually put it out on my Twitter, Billy. So if you're not keeping up with my Twitter, definitely take a look. AUR was talking about how they released a semi truck that's driving in public streets by itself, guys. So we'll see what happens here. HIMS is still looking really well here, guys. So now that I have money, I can keep trying to play the Qs as long as they can continue in the strength. Right now, the Qs are pretty strong. Apple wasn't a bad move today either. It's back towards 211.50s. We'll look to see if it gets back there to the 212s. That was the play. I just played it wrong, guys. Just played it wrong. That's all it was. Not looking at the support there. Should have got in towards the 210s. Need the risk at least closer towards a buck there, right? And then look at the move right back. It wasn't a bad trade. I'm just not being able to hold with the right risk and return with the share size that I need to have right now. So it's a battle. It's a battle, and it's one that I need to learn, right? And it's always like that, guys. You can have moments when you're doing really well, moments when you're not. Nice to hear you made some money off of HIMS. I took a little money too. Hey, get that money, Duke the Fool. Hey, you can't go wrong, man. All right, it looks good here off the 1640s too to maybe just get right back in. But to tell you the truth, I'm trying to look to see if the Qs can do a little pullback to the 9 EMA and then continue higher. So give me a little pullback on the Qs back towards the 483s, and then I can continue and jump in on some of these names. So I don't want to just keep buying the high here. Even though the Qs are breaking the high, they're trying. We'll watch to see if we get a little bit of a pullback. You see right there, it was hanging out on the 60s. We'll look to see if we get that push. But it really wasn't a bad sell there, right, guys? A nice little buy. 1598s, 16 break, selling there into the 50s, 1652. Not a bad move there. HIMS coming back. SoFi, is that coming back? I talked about how SoFi could be one of those names that could come back today. It is coming back right now. It's hanging on the VWAP. Doesn't look too bad here. Look at HIMS going higher. That doesn't look bad either. The key here is will the Qs continue strong and the SPY continue strong. SPY is above that range. Definitely some volume coming in there on SoFi. I saw 10,000 shares there fly in there at 71s. Q's going higher. It tells me that I could take the shot on SoFi off the VWAP. It'd be off the 1260s. For it to come back there towards like 1295s or something like that. It's not a big up move. Apple going back to the highs there, holding in there. Microsoft, what happened to the kids? Kids just caught back on that. Now back through the threes there. It doesn't look bad there. It did pop off of the threes, right? Got that 3, went to the 350s. Every pop, though, on this thing comes back, man. Every pop is coming back. Zoom car back towards the 14s, kind of hanging out here. Could make another move there, but definitely it's gone way too far, way too fast, guys. You're talking about a stock that was trading at $4 yesterday and it's trading at 14, 249% higher. This could be a break right back to the downside. We'll see what happens on that one. Zoom car. Is this a stop hunt on SPY? What do you mean a stop hunt on SPY? On shorts, Paul? Is that what you're referring to? So right now we broke the range. We went through the important levels, which were kind of the resistance and the support. We kept being stuck on this, and we did do a little wick down, looking like we were going to break down, and we reversed right back to the upside. From these moments, a lot of the times what we look for is to see if we make a move back towards the trend line or a resistance. So the 15-minute can get a move back there towards 561 on the SPY. But as long as it stays above 561 right now, I'm seeing like the market's trading bullish, and we could continue to climb. HIMZ pulling back there, giving me the opportunity to get back in if I want to take a shot here. I don't mind it, but right back at 16. Actually, I want to play below the 16 if I can get an opportunity. We'll see what happens there on HIMZ. In just a second, we'll shift over to our interview, guys. And this is the time where I really want you guys to jump out there and throw up some questions. Of course, the trader that I have coming on today is really a person that I look forward to and learning from, a mentor of mine. And he does an amazing job in after hours and pre-market. So keep waiting, guys. We're going to be looking at that. I'm seeing some mentions out there of pre-market highs on SOXX. All right, we'll see what happens out there right now. I definitely do think we're just climbing the wall of worry after a little bit of some downside. By the dip came in there, and now we're just continuing to climb on the Qs since pretty much 10:15. So I'm looking for a little pullback here to maybe take a little bit of a shot again after the pullback, but we'll have to wait for a little bit back towards like 483s on the Qs. We'll see if we get that little pullback. HIMZ come back to like 1580s and then a break above 16 later today. At least a bounce back trade, guys. It was a little bit of a tough morning for me. I'm still down a little bit here, but hey, that HIMZ really put us right back into control, and we'll see if HIMZ can stay battling here. Of course, I went after the leverage vehicle to try to help me out there. All right, guys, we'll see what happens on the action, but it's time to get towards our interview side of things. HIMZ still strong here. Q's coming in for that little pullback. We'll see how that plays in. All right, guys, let's get to our interview time. I want to bring on a trader of mine, of course. And guys, like always, you got to have traders that you guys look up to, right? Learn from every single day. Of course, I started early on in kind of 2018, really trying to learn and looking around, right? Looking around at different shows and things and trying to learn. Well, I found Pre-Market Prep. And Pre-Market Prep was an amazing show. It was a show that brought really different sides of the market, where I learned a lot about one key thing that I still use to this very day, which is relationships, right? Relationships are everything to the way that I like to trade, because I'm always focused on what? Rotation, right? Looking to see what sectors are staying hot, what industries are staying hot, and what themes, right? Because the theme trade is one of my favorite trades to go after, right? So we'll see what happens here. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man himself from the Stock Trader Network, Pre-Market Prep in the morning, my man, Dennis Dick. What's going on? How we doing, man?
Money Mitch, how are you, buddy?
It's good to see you, man.
Being on your show. First time on your show here. I got to come on more often with you, man.
Yeah, man.
Money Mitch has so much history. Money Mitch hosted Pre-Market Prep with us for a long time there. Obviously, you know, we're kind of all went our separate ways here now, but man, Money Mitch comes over on the Stock Trader Network every once in a while, comes on for us too. And man, you just kill it every time you're on. I heard about, you were talking about learning from me. I've learned so much from you over the years as well. Great technician here, Money Mitch. So love being here with you, and excited to talk with you today.
Yeah, man. And one of the things that I can definitely say is that I've learned a lot and I mentioned like relationships. I think that was one of the number one things that I learned from you, Dennis. And I learned how quickly you needed to know these relationships, right? Because if you don't know it and you have to think about it, well, you're probably not going to be able to catch the trades. And you do a lot of news headline trades, right? And this is where I think the relationship knowledge really comes into play. Right. I always talk about kind of leaders to laggard style trades where there's always going to be a leader. Something's going to pop, right? Sometimes you can't catch that pop because it was the leader and it just popped. But that can always rise the kind of the tide with the boats, right? And all of a sudden you start to see the stocks follow that one leader. So what did it for you? When did you really start paying attention to that kind of relationship headline trade? Has that always been your kind of style, Dennis?
No, my style's changed over the years. So my history, if you don't know me, I started trading with Bright Trading started retail, 1997. Traded retail for a couple of years through university, just getting your feet wet, learning how the market works. But I really loved it. I had a passion for it. I'm like, I want to be a trader. So actually, that's when I found out about Bright Trading over in Detroit. And Joel Alconin, who you know well from Pre-Market Prep, was the office manager of Bright Trading, the proprietary trading shop in Detroit. So I went over, met him, and I was like, I love this. Room full of traders. We're all going to be talking different stuff, And so I went and joined there in May of 1999. I stayed with Bright Trading until 2021. So I was with them for a very long time. Obviously I trade on my own now through my own company, Triple D Trading. And obviously, we do the Stock Trader Network now too. But I learned, relationships mostly from a gentleman called Rob Friesen, who actually runs Bright Trading now. But he was the master of statistical arbitrage, just like looking into quant. He was like one of your first quants, like in there understanding like, when this moves, it's going to cause this to move. And forgive me for my voice, I'm still fighting a cold, but it really boils down to like understanding that everything is connected, and there's certain stocks move, that means something for something else. And I've just tried to take it to other levels as well. Like obviously when Microsoft and Meta beat last night, well, Amazon's going to move up on Microsoft because of the cloud businesses, that Nvidia is going to move up, AI, tech stocks are all moving higher. We know we're going to have a tech day today. But I like to always take it a step farther. And what I've been saying over on Stock Trader Network is last night we were putting on these trades where I was actually shorting non-tech stocks, like actually taking physical. Even though the market's up, I was actively looking for shorts and non-tech because I thought, and again, it's just ETF effects and all this, where if you've got, Microsoft and Meta this strong, they're going to probably sell other stocks. So, looking at staples, looking at drugs, looking, even at Berkshire Hathaway last night, we were looking at. So just understanding that just because Meta and Microsoft, the entire market's rallying, doesn't mean all stocks are going to rally. And if you look today, utilities are very weak, drugs are very weak, staples are very weak. Value trade is kind of weak because that money is coming from value and going into growth.
Yeah. And I think we're going to continue to see that, right? And it changes over. I think you talk about that all the time. And the non-tech components of the Qs are very important to understand. And when there's moments when you're seeing some stocks so strong, it's just the way it works. You taught it very well. You talk about this all the time on Pre-Market Prep, the ETF effects, guys. And we try to bring you this conversation, but definitely Dennis understands it and sees it daily. And I know that you do a lot of pre-market and after hours trading, right? That's kind of like where your bread and butter really lies, right? And there's a lot of traders that completely avoid these areas. They're like, I can only trade between 9:30 and 10:30. And I feel like these limiting factors and the mentality of that sometimes really can hurt some traders. I'm not saying that after hours and pre-market is for every trader, but for some traders, it can be a really great place to find some consistency. Why did you shift over from the intraday to those hours?
Well, fantastic question, Mitch. And I was one of those traders from my first years. If you go through my trading career, I started at Bright 1999. And I did not trade after hours of pre-market really until probably the financial crisis, like 2007, 2008, 2009. And, you realize there's opportunities that start, like when I started in 1999, there wasn't much of a pre-market and after hours. There was a few places you could trade, but it was like by appointment only. It just wasn't really built up as much yet. So there wasn't a lot of liquidity. So, there may be a trade or two happening, but it wasn't like it is today, where some of these stocks like Tesla basically don't close for 24 hours and get in out of that thing within like 10 or 20 cents at midnight. So, the markets have just evolved over time. But what I really started focusing on after hours, probably after 2010, where market efficiencies, I was always specializing in market inefficiencies, where, understanding little intricate plumbing of the market, trying to take it, trying to find an edge through those little market microstructure inefficiencies. Well, those with the rise of high frequency trading, with the rise of Citadel and with Virtu, and obviously, and there's a lot of other high frequency trading firms, but those are two of the main ones. It became very competitive. So from a market making perspective, very difficult to compete with an electronic market maker, which like on the floor, for the most part, there's still a few floor traders, but it's not like it used to be. So high frequency trading has made the market a lot more efficient. They are active after hours, but not as much. So you find more little inefficiencies pre-market and after hours, and that's why I jump in, because like I was saying, even when I was talking these ETF, over on Stock Trader Network, I was talking about these ETF effects overnight here, talking about last night, when Microsoft Meta was reporting, and then talking into it this morning. I'm like, at 9:35, everything's efficient and figured out. But sorry, I just can't get my voice. But during the pre-market, you have S&P, there's 500 stocks, and we know where Meta is, we know where Microsoft is, we know where Tesla is. But if you get outside the top 100 components, there's not much market in like the smaller issues that are in the S&P 500, like the other 400 names. So the arbitrage aspect of it, it's kind of a guessing game. So the market makers and the companies that are doing ETF arbitrage are kind of guessing where stocks are going to be.
Yeah.
Well, we can make and participate in that guessing process as well. So when you see, S&P 500, everybody buys everything up automatically. Well, I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense really for those like non-tech components to really be ripping on this, because this is a tech rally. So maybe like last night, for instance, IBB was trading a lot higher. So this isn't obviously a component of the S&P 500, but it kind of encompasses what I'm trying to get at, is that this was a specific rally to Microsoft Meta. Apple, has obviously participated as well, but Microsoft Meta, Netflix, let's go the top four: Microsoft, Meta, Nvidia, and Amazon. Just taking those four companies. They, at one point in time when the S&P was up only 1%, they were making up the entire gain. Those four companies were the entire gain of the S&P 500. That means the other 496 companies as a whole need to be flat. Well, now you look and you've got other tech names that are trading higher too in there, so they're going to put upward pressure. So it's kind of predictable that the non-tech components were going to be weaker. So I know I took a short in IBB, which gives me a whole bunch of exposure to biotechnology, which probably shows up weak, and that actually tanked right off the open if you see it. If you see the effects. I got short last night in the 127s. I was able to take that off this morning, 124, 125, 124, 123 and a half. I think I was taking off the rest of it. Just that complete tank, because as it opens at 9:30, all the math adds that up and everything adjusts. Well, if you're predicting those adjustments, there's actually money to be made there. So, and that's where my edge is understanding all those different relationships and understanding just because something's up, something else actually might go down because something's up.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, right? I think that, sometimes a lot of traders are looking for strategies like buy here, sell here, but I think that a lot of the best strategies are more a psychological approach and understanding about the way that the market works, right? Market structure understanding is, I think, a lot of the way that you found your edge. And I think that a lot of times traders come in and they're looking for a specific answer, like buy here, sell here. But the truth is that the market just doesn't work that way, right? If it was like that, I think every technical analyst would be killing it, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you use very little, if any, technical analysis. Talk about that and why you choose to more focus on other things.
Now, I use some. So in my long-term investing, I use technical analysis. In my swing trading, I use technical analysis as well, because charts tell a story and you can read a lot from the charts. In my short-term day trading, I do use a little bit, like it's a tool. It's one tool in the toolbox, but it's not my main tool. Like if somebody asked me, I'm a day trader, I've been doing it for 26 years. How do you make your living? I would say off of market inefficiencies. That's what I would say. What does that mean? Well, it's not a chart because the chart shows everything. So there's not really inefficiencies in a chart. The chart's very efficient. It's showing every single trade that's on there. Even tape reading, is that really a market inefficiency? No. That's just reading the tape. So that's a different skill set in itself. Really, the market inefficiencies are stuff that I'm talking about, like those little ETF effects that people aren't thinking about, that just because, we're getting a big move up, in Meta and Microsoft, automatically makes me want to short T-Mobile. Well, like, what the hell is that? What do you mean? Why are you shorting T-Mobile because Microsoft and Meta are trading? Well, Microsoft and Meta are too strong. T-Mobile, TMUS, is a non-tech component of the QQQ, and it's likely to go down on that report. So, I just, I set up that trade and doing it last night. I'm trying to short T-Mobile. I'm trying to short Amgen. I'm trying to short Gilead. I shorted the IBB just to get exposure to a bunch of them, but trying to short Fastenal because, and if you look at these stocks today, they're all trading in the red. Now they've bounced because the overall market has bounced, but there was some really good trade off back. Costco. Costco was good off the bat. It has bounced here now too. And again, the market has bounced quite a bit here too. So it's starting to drag everything up with it. But right off the hop at 9:30, there was a lot of opportunity where these ETF effects really showed up. So, I mean, that's where I am. It's kind of like understanding the plumbing of it all and how it all comes together. And it paints you a better picture. And I don't need technicals to tell me that T-Mobile is going to go down. On that T-Mobile, when looking at that, I didn't even look at a chart on it. It didn't matter. I just knew that because Meta and Microsoft were this strong, they're likely to sell those QQQ non-tech components, which makes me want to take a short in T-Mobile. And some people may be looking at a chart and saying, well, I like the technicals in this T-Mobile. Let's go buy it. Well, I will short to them because I'm fairly confident the ETF effects are going to bring this down tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and I think these are important, right? Because a lot of questions come into play, like out the open. Well, what's going to happen out the open? Well, what happens out the open in this case on days like today is that rebalancing, and that comes into play. So I think that's some of the things that I think traders need to understand a little bit more of, because they're sometimes too focused on, well, this flag pattern or this, instead of understanding the way that things work, right? And so the pullback today can be expected. We'll see if we get some further shift from kind of growth to from value to growth, right? I think that's what we're starting to see. We're seeing the value trade probably start to sell off and the growth trade start to kind of kick off. We've been seeing names like Palantir, kind of the retail names start to get hot. Palantir, SoFi, HIMS, I just traded just recently, even today. And I know that you guys talk a lot about these retail names right now that got bought up. How do you see these names now? Do you think they can continue? Do they think that they have some legs in the rally, especially the momentum names?
Yeah, I think so. I was trying to just, again, sometimes it's just good to take a back, seat and like just look at the markets just all overall. Stop trading and look at the markets from just a longer term perspective, because that can kind of help your short term thinking as well sometimes. I mean, I think it gets tougher here, Mitch, because we had Liberation Day. Obviously, tariffs came out. They were way more than the market expected, and we got absolutely killed. The S&P is losing 10% in a week. We have bounced back substantially enough now that we have actually gotten all of the losses back from Liberation Day. We're all the way back up. Investors who bought that day have been made whole. So I think, the reason for that, obviously, is that we now know there's a Trump put. Yeah. When we were selling off for 3 days in a row, people were concerned that Trump doesn't care about the stock market anymore. He's going to do tariffs no matter what, and that's it. That theory got put to rest the day he kicked the can down the road 90 days. And he said he was talking, and worrying about the bond market. He said it. That was words for he said. So we now know that Trump put exists. If the market tanks too much, Trump will defend the market. He did do that. So that's the good news. So we bounced back, and we should have bounced back because that was new information. Now we've come so far, though, that it's like we've got all those losses back. So if you're buying now, it's like you're basically saying we're going back. If you're taking a long-term perspective, you're basically like banking that we're eventually going to re-see all-time highs this year. I don't know if we are. So I think we've come back, giving you a perspective. We're up about 13% from the lows in April. That's a pretty damn good move. So I think it's kind of prudent at this point in time to maybe be ringing the register on some of the stuff you bought, maybe taking some money off the table. I know it feels, awesome today, But in 2025, those days that it's felt awesome were just really good selling opportunities. I think today is kind of the same thing. I think we get Apple and Amazon tonight. I think the bar is now all of a sudden a little bit higher for both those companies because Meta and Microsoft just moved the bar up for them. I do think Apple probably is conservative with their guidance because they don't know where tariffs are going. Obviously, they make, you know, all their iPhones over in China with Foxconn for $2.75 an hour. They kind of don't know where they're going. So I think it'd be predictable that Apple's probably going to be somewhat conservative with their guidance. Amazon, these are two of the two stocks reported last night, Microsoft and Meta, probably have a lot less exposure to tariffs than Apple and Amazon. So now we get two of the mega cap names that are probably the most exposed to tariffs. Obviously, Amazon, a lot of stuff they sell on Amazon is made in China. So they're going to want a deal. So I think both companies are probably going to be somewhat conservative with their guidance. Now the bar comes up for them because they just both went up today too. So I think the setup just is like, I've said this, you know, for a while here on pre-market prep. I feel like we're in the Steve Miller Band market. Take the money and run. And I think that's where we still are right now. So actually, from my own perspective here, I'm not looking to buy anything today. And if I was sitting, you know, on some serious gains here from the last couple of weeks, I'd probably be taking some money off the table ahead of Amazon and Apple tonight.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? We climbed the wall of worry. And why did we climb the wall of worry? Because the bad news just stopped, right? We got it. And all we've been getting is just talks of deals and no actual deal that brought this back, right? And I think that that's how it is sometimes. The market was just focused on bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. And all of a sudden, it just stopped. And everyone wanted to talk about tariffs. But the truth was that there was nothing really in play, right? Like the tariffs opened up, but it never was really into play. It never showed up in the numbers, right? And I think that this is one of the things that people forget, that this was all driven by one man's decision to knock the market down and then backed off of that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the key there. And so essentially nothing really broke in the system of the market. It was just more just, oh, well, now you're going to do this. Well, this is going to cause the negative reaction. And so he just pulled it off. Now I think we got to watch that 90-day period, right? Because that 90-day period was to make the deals happen and not necessarily for the 90 days to come up and then to see what happens then. Right. So I think that's the worry that comes a little bit later down the line now that we got to be a little bit concerned about. That could knock us right back down. Another thing that showed up was the negative GDP. And are we really going into recession? Right. Those were the concerns that just appeared for a second yesterday. They are keeping investors on a little bit of a swivel. How do you feel about these?
I think there's repercussions here still. So we can say, okay, we're past it all and tariffs are in the rearview mirror. The worries about serious tariffs are in the rearview mirror, but tariffs are still coming. And these deals are not going to be zero tariff deals. You know, maybe I'll make a zero tariff deals with penguins or something, but just joking. But this is still coming. Tariffs are still coming here. There's going to be repercussions for all companies from that. So I think we got to, like, even though expectations were brought lower because obviously stock prices have come down, I think as we continue to rise, I think it becomes more difficult to like keep finding that, you know, are we in as good of a place as we were when we started 2025? Probably not. You know, from an economic perspective, we kind of had a tech bubble that kind of burst. You know, yes, some stocks have come back, but not all of them. I think there's just been some damage done here too. And I think there is some overhead supply where some investors, as stocks start to come up, are going to be willing to sell as well. But just taking it from an economic perspective, tariffs are still coming. There are repercussions for that, and corporate profits probably go lower as margins get squeezed from those tariffs. Yeah. So I think we've got to be just cautious with saying, yeah, we're completely out of the woods. I think we're still in the woods. We just can kind of see the light, you know, at the, you know, trying to find our way out. But I think this administration is still kind of lost in the woods here too. And I think I don't want to jump and just be, you know, like, okay, it's over. The tariff crisis is over, because the tariff crisis is not over. Those tariffs are still coming.
Yeah, and there's still not many deals done, and that tells me something. I know that
no deals.
We know they've been pushing, right? They've been saying it every single day. Yeah, there's no reason to think. Yeah, there's no reason to think that if there wasn't a good deal available to close, they wouldn't close on that deal right now. And so that's what I can continue to watch. One area that I do think that will continue to see the lift is India. I'm continuing to watch that with Apple. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the Stock Traders Network tomorrow, guys. Of course, I'll be over there, and so that you guys can stay with the conversation. So like always, you guys can check out the Stock Traders Network. I'm going to throw it up here in the chat so that everybody can get the link, of course, and go ahead and check it out. There's a nice free trial so that you guys can join us tomorrow and check me out. I'm going to be on there at 10 a.m. tomorrow. But I think it's very important to keep up with the market right now. I think it's always a great lesson to bring you on, Dennis, as a prop trader that went from prop kind of side of things to have the support to really kind of enough capital to make the money that you were looking to make. And then you went on your journey. You went from that journey to now on your own. And how did you do that? With the support of a prop behind you for years and years so that you got to your level of skill that you are today. And then now you're on your own. I think that's such a great lesson for traders that are looking at us, a prop firm that is trying to give them access to capital. Of course, it's a profit split, but I know that you had to deal with this for many years, right?
Yeah.
Many years.
Oh, and I could just pitch, like if you're just starting and you're sitting there with, a $25,000 account, let's say, and you're like, okay, I need to make like $50,000 a year here to pay my bills. You're trying to make 200% on your money a year. Nobody does that. Not maybe in 2020, but it doesn't happen consistently. So, I started with Bright Trading, $25,000 account, gave me 20-to-1 margin. So all of a sudden I have $500,000 worth of equity to trade. Now, yeah, you have to do a profit share, and yeah, there's commissions and stuff and what involved. But I mean, now all of a sudden you're trading like real money. So now I can pay real money. So all of a sudden, if you have a $500,000 account, you only need to make 10% on that to make your $50,000 to be able to pay your bills. So, I mean, and obviously, I've done even a lot better than that over the years. But I mean, just trying to think about, I don't know how an independent trader can think that they can make a living with a $25,000 account. It's nearly impossible. So
or even less. Even less, Dennis. I see so many traders now. They're telling me they're starting with 5,000 and trying to make
50,000 a year on it. And then they're going to take extra risk to be able to do that. So, leverage yourself up by joining a good prop firm. I'm all for that.
Yeah, and I think I really think that was the best lesson really for all you guys out there to listen into, because the truth is that what did you focus on? You stopped focusing so much on that I needed to make this money, but I wanted to focus on my skill level and give myself the ability to get there. That's exactly what you did, Dennis. And definitely, guys, tune in. The Stock Trader Network has a great webinar also on arbitrage and kind of strategies that Dennis has taken. I've listened to that one. I definitely would suggest it to take a look at the old and past webinars that they've done. And I know they're going to do more and to get into more of Dennis's style. So if you guys want to learn from them, check them out. Every morning, I also tune into Pre-Market Prep. I'm always there hanging out in the morning just to learn and get some of the morning conversations. So you guys can check that out, of course, on their YouTube. I'm going to throw up here Dennis's Twitter here also in the chat, so that you guys can give him a good follow on Twitter. He does really great posts all the time about aftermarket action that he's seeing and things that could really give you guys some great insight. So like always, Dennis, it's always good to have you on, my friend. And I wish to have you back on, man. Keep pushing. Keep doing what you're doing for those traders out there. I know that some days are harder than others because you are like me. You sometimes miss out on trades because you're talking about them versus actually taking them. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing, Dennis. It always comes back, man. Karma is very important, I think, for traders out there to help other traders push forward. I know you do that every day. So thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to be on with you again soon. And we'll see you on the Stock Trader Network tomorrow, Mitch. Love having you on.
Hey, take care, Dennis. Have a great one, my friend. All right, guys, there's Dennis Dick, guys, and definitely give him a good follow. Good love in the chat. Good stuff. Great guest indeed, guys. I'll tell you guys, I can talk to Dennis about the markets every single day, guys, and I would never, ever be bored, man. That's one thing that Dennis does great. You sense the passion that he has for the markets, even after years and years, right? That's what I love about Dennis, and great to have him. Definitely give him a lot of love, guys, and check out Pre-Market Prep, Stock Trader Network whenever you can. All right, guys, we're getting back to the markets here. And man, oh man, that HIMS trade wasn't a bad one at all. If I would have been able to hang on, I'd be in the green today, but it's okay. It's all right, because today was more about what? Determining that, hey, I needed to bounce back. But look at that HIMS trade. Nice little takeoff from that 16, now at 1708. So really nice push there, 1710s. SoFi was another one that I was looking at to trade it off the VWAP. And look at that. That's working well too. Markets continued after the Qs bottomed out and just went right back to the upside. So VIX on the downside there and kind of hanging in there. That's interesting to see that the VIX hasn't broken down today, to see it hang on there. But we'll continue to watch to see the action here. Microsoft hasn't really pushed here, so watch out to see what happens in the afternoon. Microsoft is still hanging in there. Amazon's going to be an important one to look at, of course, this night. Tonight's going to be reporting, and I think that will affect the relationship in Shop. Right? You see them trading very similar. We'll see what happens tonight in Shopify and Amazon. Still one that I wish I have. So Shop, if you want to come down to me, I'll never be mad, man. I want to get you back down there into the 60s and 50s. If you could do it, I won't be mad at you. But hey, Shop's hanging in there. We'll see if it can recover back through the 100. Not a bad stock to think about. And like always, we'll take a look at some different action out there. The sectors and leading today in the last 2 days. Has been, of course, technology, but right now today leading the action, technology, financials right behind that. So I think that's an important area to watch. That's another area to look at SoFi, but look at JPM and banks like that starting to come back today. I think that's a more of the recession concern going to the sideline, right? Yesterday you were thinking recession concerns, so the banks were coming down. Well, there it is, right back to the upside today. Quick little bounce back. All right, we'll see what happens in other areas of the markets right now. I'm looking at the XLU starting to push to the upside. XLP was one area that I was going to look to see if we were going to fade. This is one area that I could see fade today. We'll see if there's some other names here that start to really kind of break down. Of course, I was looking at like a Procter Gamble short. This looks like an opportunity even right now. Clorox looks like an opportunity for a short. You can see how that one went down a pretty significant amount. Just hanging on here on the VWAP, could be right back down to the 139. What is this? This is that growth to value trade, right? So essentially, a lot of people were looking for safety and value trades in the market, now shifting over to the growth trade. And we'll see how ARKK is performing today. I talked about maybe looking at some of those names for the uplift, and you're seeing ARKK get the uplift now. Let's take a look at what's leading ARKK and see what's pushing. Tesla, of course, 3% up higher and pushing towards the 290s. Beam Therapeutics, some biotechs showing up there. Pinterest, Block even getting the lift there. So that might mean that PayPal will get a little lift there. It's not a bad one to watch there. Path is another one that I talked about. Could have a good day there. It's starting to push up there. And what about Archer? Archer was one that I wanted to keep an eye on. It is making a little bit of a comeback here, back above the VWAP. We'll look to see if it can continue just to climb the wall. Q's going higher there. So the strength in the market doesn't seem to be stopping right now. And it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. It's 11 a.m. HIMS was the best trade of the day, guys. I'll tell you guys, and I'm always transparent, guys. This is something that you don't get anywhere else. Right here, where a lot of traders would never show you an ugly day like I had today, and then the balancing of it, right? Well, there you guys have it. There you guys see all the orders, everything that I did, finishing down about 102, $15 in commissions. But hey, that bounce back in HIMS could have definitely made us to get back into the green. I took the profits just to kind of cut the loss on the day because I was struggling. And what was that? Those were trades on the VIX, really, that were the bad ones. The Apple trade wasn't bad. I think it was just a little too big. But if you look at it, it was a winning trade. It just was on the timing aspect of it that I might have gone a little bit too big and didn't hold on to the pullback on the 15-minute. That's what I was looking at. And look where it went, 213. That could have been as simple as what? That's a $3 win, 200. That's a $600 win. So I don't think I did bad. It's just I need to give myself the room for these trades to work. And if I'm going to go to that sizing, then you need to understand how much room you really need to give it to have it work, right? All right, guys, we'll continue to battle out there. It's never easy. Got to continue to battle. Rando, I hope you have a good one. Steph and everyone out there, hope you enjoyed our guest today and more guests. If you're looking to see more guests, of course, reach out to me if you guys have anyone that you guys want to see on this specific show. I'll keep pushing like always and looking for other traders out there. We'll see what happens out there. I did just see a big wick come into the market. We'll see if we see an afternoon turnaround, but stay out there, stay safe, traders, and catch me back on Monday. Tomorrow, of course, I'll be on the Stock Trader Network and doing a little bit of some video work in the background and doing some recording. We're looking to give you guys a nice educational project that will be released soon. So keep pushing forward, guys. It's good to see you guys get to that next level. Always try to find how you can improve, or maybe start to look at other strategies so that you guys can learn something else. I know Dennis really made me really start to think more about pre-market and after hours trading. And I started to really dip my toe in it. I need to learn more, just like you guys need to learn more. And we'll keep pushing right here on Trade the Pool. It's good to see you guys like always. Take care. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Keep pushing on your levels, because the truth is there's only one way to learn. We're going to struggle as early traders. The one way that we learn, we take data, we write it down, we journal, we learn. And like my man Michael Noss would tell me right now, he'd be saying it in the background, take that data, and really look into it. Understand it. Learn it. Find your systems. Find a way to get there. We'll see you guys back on Monday. Keep battling out there. It's not an easy market indeed.